Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Do you want to become IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS? Ladies and gentlemen, we Unacademy, with top educators of India and meticulously designed quality content, we have been waiting for you, waiting to shape you especially so that you realize your dream, goal. Once you enroll yourself in Unacademy, ladies and gentlemen, you will undergo a great learning experience. Right. Unacademy, India's largest and the best online education platform, you know well. What are all the benefits you are likely to get once you enroll yourself in Unacademy? Of course, ladies and gentlemen, you've got daily live classes like this. Of course, you can chat with your educator. You can engage in all-round productive discussions and ask all your genuine doubts and participate in the answer polls also. All these things you can do when the session's going on. You got structured courses here completely based on your UPSC Civil Service Examination pattern and syllabus as well. We ensure so that you never get deviated from the expected framework. We are talking about this so that you save time and energy. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this particular point we are keep on emphasizing, that repeatedly, well, it's not knowing the stuff, knowing to deliver the stuff, because delivery matters. It's not what you deliver, rather how do you deliver. Yes, we are talking with that particular tone. Of course, that we have got a mechanism to evaluate your preparation in various stages. And that too by conducting regular mock tests and quiz programs so that you get detailed analysis based on your performance. You come to know where you are strong, where you are weak, and the time you have taken in solving that question. And you've got unlimited access once you enroll yourself in Unacademy, more than 1 million videos, of course, where we talk, you can learn from anywhere, anytime, irrespective of your graduation. We are talking about, when it comes to eligibility criteria. Here we say it is irrespective of your electronic device, whether it is mobile phone, laptop, desktop. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, what you have to do, please, that download Unacademy, that learning up immediately so that you are ready to access all these benefits, whether it is Android, iOS, ladies and gentlemen, please do it immediately to avail all these benefits. Right? Who is this interacting with you? This is Success Sampath from Chennai. With unique experience of got exposed to the fields of engineering, management, and legal education. Ladies and gentlemen, with 25 years of experience in the field of coaching, especially shaping the careers of civil service aspirants with my team, that I could witness the humble results. Of course, the 250 plus results as IAS, IPS, IRS, IFS. All my kids are working in different parts of India and some of them in abroad as well. Part of that Union External Affairs Ministry. You can also ask me another question. What's your vision, sir? Yes, provide solution, be part of solution, especially by enabling youths of India to provide career solution to begin with, later to embrace the global community. Fortunately, this particular vision of mine is completely in alignment with Unacademy's vision. We are working together to shape you so that you realize your dream, goal. You become officer in your own capacity. And you can also reach me through, Telegram channel, say Unacademy, that using my ID, of course, Sampath, or that even YouTube channels, even the very platform of Unacademy, when the app you download, you use my ID, say Success Sampath or Sampath Tirvengidam, and also reach my social network to learn more. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is right time. Let me take to the next level. Right, it's not only me, as I told you, right, as a team, more than 100 plus top educators part of Unacademy waiting to shape you. Under UPSC Civil Service Examination, you got two major programs: Plus program, Iconic program. The very Plus program, you got live classes, test series, unlimited practice session, structured schedule mechanisms, and whether it is subject specific module or prelims cum mains, that integrated program given for your optional subject. From 1 month to 36 months, we have got a program here. Ladies and gentlemen, choose what suits you, that whatever may be, that the time availability or your, the budget, you choose course accordingly. You please use my referral code for that particular purpose, to avail maximum 10% discount. It's not only that, more than this, plus program, we strongly recommend Iconic program because which has got a unique feature, a special feature. What is that? you will be given a mentor, you will be allotted a personalized coach, and he or she will understand your nature and to suggest study planner accordingly, and you will be trained on everyday basis in terms of answer writing practices. Here too you got that 1 year program or 3 years program accordingly. Please choose programs accordingly, including optional subjects. Avail 10% discount using my referral code say success, because this is Success Sampath interacting with you. Ladies and gentlemen, technically speaking, you end up paying mere 80 to 100 rupees if you calculate in terms of per day basis. Not even the consumption, not even the expenditure towards your snacks, evening snacks consumption, but you ensure your career, right? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy once again, right? It's that way, all popular optional subjects, for which we extend our support to you. That, and not only that, as I told you, from 1 month to 36 months or 2 years, from 5K to 90K, we have got, courses here. Choose what suits you. Please use my referral code, say success. But in spite of that, we strongly recommend, that Plus and Iconic program, because we understand what you needed mostly. So that you benefit more, so that, that you reach your dream, goal, ambition. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the right time. Let me take you to the 250 marks, that of your mains written out of 1750 mains written, the role played by the ethics integrity. That ethics and integrity, the very subject matter, GS paper 4, which has got the responsibility of 250 marks. I'm not going to say anything new. Of course, I formalize, that as I used to say, I'm going to formalize your, that lifestyle mechanism by linking with different nomenclatures, by linking with, that various reformers, leaders, thinkers, and also the practical, that in life, that you witness a lot of situations, that you face some sort of dilemma, whether to, go this side or that side, what is right, what is wrong, the confusion, or we call, the conflict of interest or ethical dilemma, maybe conflict of interest in the governing mechanism we call. Ultimately, you arrived at what is best for you, what is right for you. Maybe the decision you took because of, your socialization. You were brought up in the past through various agents of socialization. Maybe charity begins at home. That's from your family. Later, your peer group, your educational institutions, of course, your community. And also, that the social network, in the modern day world we are talking about. Even the celluloid world, of course, the media. Shaping your personality, inculcating value systems in you. That you internalized, all those value systems, once, of course, the part of, the culture, which is blueprint of society. And also, that the various institutions responsible in institutionalizing those values in you in various stages. Of course, that's what socialization is, a cradle to grave process. You come to know this is what my character, this is what my personality. But with that, what do you do? What do you do with what you have? We ask you the question. Right action fetches right results. But that right action, what we are talking about, that's completely based on your right thought. Troubleshooting at the supply level, cut at supply level, we say. The right thought, it's the reflection of your, that your belief, your faith system, your socialization, you were brought up, a summation of all, the cradle to grave process we are calling. Even if you don't know, you can unlearn, you can relearn. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way, that, so ethics and integrity, that it is part of, that UPSC Civil Services Examination mains paper 4 especially, with contribution of, 250 marks. It's very simple, fantastic, it's a fun, that to go through this subject matter and also to solve those questions. You will come to know. I'm going to take you there. So this particular matter, everything. I'm just formalizing. You will come to know. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we are talking about the context linking with syllabus and as well as, the previous year questions. If at all you say, this is what the standard, this is what right in that particular occasion, that particular context, what are all the sources, what are all the parameters taking you to arrive at that particular, that right or wrong. Then we talk about, 5 sources we are calling, 5 approaches otherwise. Even the ethics we are going to define, in terms of form and content. That way you'll come to know. But this is introduction session. I don't want to complicate. I'll my come in session. This is otherwise called my come in, sir. I treat that way, that I won't complicate. So, the step by step approach. Slowly we will contaminate you in terms of these ethical standards. Don't worry, but towards right direction. Towards the purpose and direction. Don't worry about it. And also, various key concepts involved, that on the part of, ethics and integrity, the whole syllabus, whether you call it, probity or attitude, aptitude, that the ethics in, that personal relations, ethics in, social relations, ethics in public administration, ethics in governance, probity in governance, ethics in international standards, ethics in environmental, that arena. We've got, variety of values. What sort of values, that to be practiced in what sort of context, that comes ultimately. So whether you call, truth, love, justice, honesty, responsibility, accountability, compassion, virtue, equity, sensitivity, fidelity, so many things we are going to discuss. Don't worry. A lot of key concepts, even emotional intelligence, right? We are not living in the world of, IQ. We move to the next level. What is that? EQ. How, the capable you are in getting along with others. It's not wasting your time. You should understand, that even, that you are put in, that unpleasant situation, you should know how to handle your emotions, that it's not only your emotion, the emotions of others, so that, you walk towards emotional and intellectual growth that benefits you and benefits the whole community, whole society. So like that, the key concepts, we'll be taking up. This is almost like template of my session, that the future sessions also, that you will witness the same template, but with different, that the key concepts, different questions and case studies. Of course, today my focus will be not only on emotional intelligence, also taking you to, because, there is a syllabus, the role of, that your family, education institutions in shaping your ethical standards. Of course, you got a lot of questions based on that. So where we have to speak about the introduction I gave, you are getting culturally conditioned, and also the great leaders, reformers, whether it is, that the virtue ethics, that we say SPA. What is that? Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Epicureans we talk about, but also various people like, that J.S. Mill, John Stuart Mill, Jeremy Bentham, and you will come to, our leaders, of course, great Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekananda, Dr. Kalam, because, every year you get questions based on that. Why? That even people like, that Warren Buffett, the Steve Jobs, their codes are taken into account for, posing a question here. What do you understand out of this code? It is like that. Because, the thinkers, when I say, that it's our Mahabharata, maybe, that the ethics that you learn out of, that Islam, the Christianity, even Buddhism, Gautama Buddha, Siddhartha, we are calling, even Jainism, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, it is, the various religions, how they are, responsible in suggesting you the ethical standards. The paths are different. Of course, destination is same. You will come to know. So there comes, role of all these, contributors, the thinkers, reformers, social philosophers, religious, personalities, even administrators. Of course, that you're going to, the administrator, when I say, that the people like, that DMRC, Metro Man of India, Sridharan, even, that TN Session, Chief Election Commissioner, there are so many people. You're going to bring them part of this, and we are going to discuss. And also, that based on the questions, the previous questions, what should be the ethical solutions we are going to discuss. Even we are going to take up the case study. The case study approach, that the very 250 marks is divided in such a way, 120 plus, that 120 marks, for your theories, the concepts, thinkers. But it is not like, the basic definition of the terms. It is taking you to the next level, linking with current affairs, what's happening practically in and around you. And also, that hitherto you had, that more questions from, the government side, ethics and governance, the probity in governance. Now we are living in the world of public-private partnership, even the corporate MNCs based questions. We are talking about it. So the case study approach, when we say, which has got the role of 130 marks, theory 120, case studies approach, that you will be given a situation, that you will be given, that a position also, as a home secretary, as a district collector, as SP of a particular district, as a cabinet secretary, as a governor, what you would have done. It's almost like anticipatory socialization. Now you are preparing for civil service examination. Maybe having cleared prelims, you are going to write mains, that maybe the March, of course, 8th, 2021, let me take it for granted. But that you are given opportunity, the status, if you were in my shoes, it is almost like that. If you are in that particular position, what should have been, that your solution, that to ethical solution. Because when we say ethics, it is more than law. Don't say constitution, law is there. But sometimes, you are forced to, the ethical dilemma you face, the conflict of interest you face in such a situation that expects you to go beyond the law. There comes your compassion. There comes your accountability, responsibility to be part of the solution and to be fair in delivering the justice. Ladies and gentlemen, that expects you to, it is not compromising the legality I am talking about. It is more than law. The situation demands you to provide solution. It's almost though you've got constitution, we have got Supreme Court judgments, that they become, precedents, right? You got recommendations of committee commissions, but of course, without compromising the basic structure of the constitution, that's totally different scenario. It is that way. That becomes, your GO that, that you make in such a way, in a particular capacity. This is almost like anticipatory socialization. You train yourself before you enter into that particular state. You socialize yourself with an expectation that you are going to find money, you are going to become, CBI director, the cabinet secretary, home secretary, secretary finance, whatever may be, that, but now itself you train yourself. So you will love this subject. It's a highly motivational subject, you will come to know. So then we say in Tamil, Karumbu Dinna Kuli, but for your duty, you will be, that compensated by marks that takes you to, greater ranks, that the aspired service you get ultimately. You will come to know. So where in case study approach, you will see the practice, what the theories, concepts you learn, you're going to apply. Otherwise, all social problems in and around you, maybe child labor or the sexual, harassment of women at workplaces or domestic violence, what we are talking about, or even maybe agriculture farm bill, the farmers committing suicide, whatever may be, or the migrants, plight. Otherwise, that the traditional patriarchal mindset on the part of villages not allowing the girls to go to that school. Otherwise, the food prepared by Dalit man in that in the local Anganwadis, that where upper caste people kids are not eating. Like that, you get a lot of issues, that how you are going to face as a district collector, how you are going to provide solutions, what are all the steps, ethical steps you are going to take. That's fantastic. You will come to know, it is almost this subject will make you realize that you have become officer. In that capacity, what's your solution? It's quite fantastic. You will come to know. I'm not selling this subject. Okay, you understand. That this is reality. That I actually, benefited out of it. That gives you different. It's almost you treat yourself as if you got experience of 10 years, 20 years, part of the steel pillars of that Indian administration. As a bureaucrat, you're going to provide solution, but you have to understand the rules of the game. There, that my role is to supply the methodology, the tools, the formulae, and bringing in, roping in various leaders, reformers, administrators, and conceptual clarity, and linking with previous questions and case study approach. Ladies and gentlemen, and finally, what are all the resources to be consulted? So that takes you to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what our content of interaction today. Yes, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, this is right time. That welcoming all the aspirants who have joined me now, that welcome to Unacademy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Success Sampath interacting with you, especially on ethics and integrity, the GS paper 4 of your, the UPSC Civil Services Examination names, which has got the responsibility of 250 marks. It's very simple and easily scoring. It's fun also and highly motivating too. Ladies and gentlemen, that now it's my duty to take you, that to introduce you. What is ethics? People say, don't you have ethics? Don't you have morality? Don't you have culture? Sometimes you feel, that, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have behaved in such a way. That's unbecoming on the part of my personality. Oh, I behaved that way. Oh my God. That's very bad, no? So this moment, I shouldn't have done that, Feel bad. You feel guilty. There you realize. You've got choices in front of you, right and comfort. It's not choosing comfort. May appear as if you're choosing comfort, but in the long run, it will tell. In the whole big picture, you will come to know the passions that demand. When you got choices in front of you, let me repeat, ladies and gentlemen, right and comfort, you are supposed to right, not comfort. Because once you choose comfort, that is where you lose your identity. Of course, that don't say spiritual way. What is your identity? That's different. That it is of course intellectual domain. The people who have chosen comfort, they've lost their identity. Day-to-day life, how the corporate MNC is getting black money from, corrupt politicians. At least they are no more committing suicides. You come across various things happening in and around you, because people chose comfort. The people who chose, that right, of course they are not, that the big people are the part of the world, and they don't want to be big also. They don't want societal endorsement, entitlement, but they are very happy. The very satisfaction, as long as they are strictly adhering to the value system of the society, they are very happy. It's not for somebody else's endorsement. That is what learned people, mature people, ethical people standards. They don't wait for anybody's endorsement. The likes in the Facebook or social network. The people who know their value, they will respect. That it's that way. It is not proving yourself in social media. That is what we are talking about. The social, that standards you may be low, but you know how pure you are. That at the end of the day, great things will take time. Ladies and gentlemen, so these are all the things you come across in your life. I'm talking about everything belonging to ethics. Your parents would have guided you. Your grandparents would have guided you. Maybe your welfare, that well wishers, the name of your friends would have guided you. Your teachers would have guided you. That is what we are talking about. This, what is right in a particular occasion. That's not so easy come to that particular conclusion, because what you feel right, that goes with your decision. Based on your exposure, based on your value system you believe in, based on your socialization, based on your personality type, character, what you believe in. All these things put together we are talking about. Otherwise, let me speak this way. A person feels guilty only on violating the rights of others. The world of law. Right, that maybe, in a traffic, right, one person, that is coming, maybe you don't give way to even ambulance sometimes. That's what happening na, our people. Otherwise there are people chasing ambulance with the same speed. Oh my god. Eh? So it is that way, that sometimes, what happened, right, your situation, you are unable to give space to ambulance, because that you parked in a difficult situation. This is, that you violate somebody else, that right to live. Of course you feel guilty, and also it is illegal. You're not giving space to violence, the very ambulance, which is with the greatest responsibility of trying to save. But of course, in our world, it's totally different. During election time, the very ambulances, even, the cylinders were utilized for the distribution of money for voting. Influencing the voting behavior of the masses, cash for votes. That's different scenario. There comes ultimately question against. Oh my God, this is ethical dilemma. That how come you can believe in, that. The ambulance. Of course, during election times, that may be applicable, not now, but of course, we are nearing elections when it comes to Tamil Nadu. But well, the ethical dilemma now you witness now, whether to believe this ambulance, give way, or that ambulance is carrying something else. That way, ladies and gentlemen, you feel guilty only on violating somebody else's rights, the rights of others in the world of law. But ethics is more than law. And thinking of violating the rights of others. Why I thought this way? You messed with me, na? Let me eliminate you. After that, you realize, how come I can eliminate him? Is it my role? I came to help others to live happily. How come I can eliminate others' life? Who gave me that authority? If I'm eliminating him, one day fine morning, I'm going to get eliminated. This is what truth. How come I can think that way? Oh my God, that's very bad. The people who believed in violence, the tool of violence, that they never reached solution. You might be aware. Even Mahatma Gandhi took the tool that gave a solution. So there you come to know how I thought this. Oh my God, that's very bad. Maybe you yielded to your temperament, emotions. After that, you realize, oh my God. Then you apply emotional intelligence. That's wrong. Better to that speak, negotiate, understand the truth, and make him understand otherwise. Otherwise, give him some time, give her some time, space, so that he or she realizes her mistake. That way, even thinking of violating the rights of others, you feel guilty. Na? There it is called the world of ethics. It is not by deeds. If, that all your thoughts becoming, that actions. The thought level itself, you troubleshoot. You feel bad. You feel guilty. Why I thought this way? That's what I say. This moment. Why did this way? Ethics is all about that. Oh my God, I shouldn't have behaved this way. I'm sorry. I feel sorry. Then you call up someone. Sorry, I behaved in a, that in a strange manner. I'm sorry. So you ask. Ultimately they are there to forgive you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about world of ethics. It's not waiting for deeds, the thought getting translated into action. The thought process itself, you feel guilty. Even thinking of violating, that encroaching upon somebody else's peers, that you feel guilty. Of course, sometimes we also deviate. That will happen. But your emotional intelligence, that you practice, ultimately you don't. At least at thought level, you stop. It's not getting translated into action. So ethics is all about that. Even thinking of violating, even thinking of committing mistakes, even thinking of committing wrong deeds, you feel guilty. That is what ethics. Ethics is more than law. But ethics is not, that compromising law. And also it talks about, the practicality. It should not be, total ideal ground. No way, that it benefits the situation. Be practical. To some extent flexible, but that practicality, flexibility should not, silence your inner voice. That's what we are talking about. Let me take into account, the very, philosopher Immanuel Kant, you might be aware. This gentleman, let me introduce. Of course, the constant infighting in the hearts, that happens. There will be constant in to do or not to do, to speak or not to speak. Is it right? Is it wrong? That is, that infighting happens in your heart. But of course, as Vivekananda says, that when there is a conflict between heart and brain, listen to the heart, listen to your intuition. That takes you to the greater heights, then your brain, taking to the some places. Got the idea now? When you got conflict between heart and brain, of course, you talk about listen to your heart, listen to your intuition. That's completely, reflection of your soul, the very purpose. Of course, you will come to know the constant infighting, of course, but it should be, to some extent, balanced by, if how the heart, I'm saying, if it is not properly fed with, that right thoughts, right value system, heart may be guiding, to the wrong places. Also, you have to take care of yourself. We're talking about that parallelly also. Constant infighting in the hearts, because what you feed, because you are what that eat, you are what you watch. You are what you eat. Tell me your 5 friends, I'll tell you who you are. You are the average of the 5 people you are in regular touch with. Who are all those people? The 5 people in constant touch. Your circle I'm talking about. So ultimately, they decide your, that the health of the heart. That your intuition, everything, that influenced by that. Of course, on the questions related to ethics and morality, that constant infighting always happening. Is it right? Is it wrong? Should I say? Should I not to say? Should I behave this? Try not to behave, it is that way. That's ethics is all about that. That talks about, what is right, what is wrong in a particular occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, so social demands of practical and flexible attitudes, that towards, they expect, don't be rigid, be flexible, huh? Be practical, that you're too ideal, your ideology is utopian ideology that will never materialize. Like, of course, so many achievements happen in this world because of the ideal people who never compromise the values, who never compromise their commitment. Well, just that way, we are talking about. Of course, to some extent, the ground, sometimes you have to be flexible, practical also. You have to understand the ground reality. The ground reality may not be as expected in the ideal grounds. You will come to know. So, the so called, the social society expects you to be practical, be flexible. Maybe, all those guys violating, the legality, of course, indulging in corruption, they'll say you have to be flexible because straight trees are cut first. You are advised that way. Compare, straight trees are cut first. Are you aware? Because 90% of the people are, very practical, very flexible, thinking of violating norms, deviance, float all norms. That's happening because, that is what, when all the, when the world, the village is full of, nude people, a guy who is wearing dress will be, criticized. That is what will happen. So the practicality, the flexibility attitude towards, ethics, what happened? That will be silencing the whisper, the so-called inner voice, the whisper that shouts within our chest, saying that no, wrong. That is what, that when you got a conflict between heart and brain, listen to heart. The heart will take you to the right place. The intuition tell you. Your intuition will take you. Even in the UPSC Civil Service, prelims examination, when you're going for, that MCQ questions, it's not inky, pinky, punky, right? ABCD. What, that we are talking about. what the first impression is the best impression, go with that intuition. This life, of course, spiritually speaking, this life, this soul, it's not, that sudden soul. It is maybe the continuation of few other souls, that otherwise got the idea, na? Which has got the imprint of the connectivity with the godliness, boson particle. Of course, you are part of the whole. Maybe intuition reflecting that. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about that. So ethical dilemma, the situational, that the constraints you have, whether to choose this or not, either this or that. Ethical dilemma, but you have to choose one at least. You have to arrive at decision given, contradictions on conflicting situations of everyday life. That, married guys, whether you should listen to your mom or whether you should listen to your, that the wife. Your mom is, past. Your wife is your present. Otherwise, you don't have future if you don't balance. The married guys would have faced all those situational dilemmas, right? It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about, that demands, of course, day-to-day situation. But, going to office and getting call from family, ultimately, that influences your official situation. That's what we say. When you go to office, take your brain. When you go to your home, leave your, by leaving chapel, you have to leave your brain. When you enter into home, you have to take your heart, so that gives you happiness, peace. It is not using your brain in family and using your heart in the office. That's what happening in government offices. The informal bureaucracy where we criticize, right? It is that way. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about that demands your emotional intelligence. You might be aware. So the ethical dilemma, that it's repeated. That liberation from the pains of, and so that what happened? You get liberated. What? From the pains, the pangs of, unwarranted guilt. That if you know what is, the situation, what is the contradiction, you check, if you take right, the decision, the ethical decision, moral decision, probably you get liberated from unwarranted guilt or uncalled for, that atonement we are talking about, that then you need not do that moravasal or, that the post fixation activity, right? It won't, that you can't go back and correct what happened in the past. Something happened, right? That demands. So, and reparation leading to the, this is very important, say, cognitive leakages and creative spillage we are talking about. That reparation leads to cognitive leakages and creative spillage. What do you mean by cognitive leakages? Verbalizing one thing, but, with different body language. What you speak is different from what you do. Ultimately, it happens. That contradicts. It is that way, that the creative spillage, it has got its own impact. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So the ethics is all about your right and wrong, which is more than law. And of course, to some extent, practical and flexibility, that without, that silencing your whisper, the inner voice we are talking about. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, especially when you face ethical dilemma, the contradictions and conflicting situations. And also taking the most optimal path, ultimately leading to maximum good for maximum people, otherwise maximum happiness for maximum people. Of course, even democracy works that way. The majority, that democracy, majority rule, not majoritarianism we are talking about. Maximum happiness for maximum people. This is otherwise called the utilitarian principle of Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill, well. In that particular situation, out of 10 people, if 8 to 9 people are, that are happy, you have to go ahead. And also have separate standards or methodology for the left out people. Then only it becomes, inclusive governance. Otherwise, if you keep the section of the population out of the process, that leads to, in democracy, rejection leads to isolation. Then they become social group. They will form social movements. They will challenge, ultimately enter into protest. That challenges the peace of the society. That goes against prosperity of the nation. All round, deterioration of law and order, you call later. The situation is ripe for the imposition of Article 356. So, maximum happiness for maximum people. It is that way. It is, that's totally different argument. In democracy, heads are counted, not weighed. That's totally different argument. So, maximum happiness for maximum people. You have to work in such a way. It's that way, that you understand, and also devising parallelly another tool to take care of, left out also. That's different in the governing mechanism you talk about. So first you address this. It is that way, utilitarian, without compromising. This you do without compromising justice, legality in spatio-temporal context. You have to understand. So out of 10 people, 9 people saying, that this guy could be killed. Hello. then you are violating, the right to life, ultimately. Article 21, you have to take it account. That's what happening in honor killings. That the Kap Panchayats, kangaroo courts in the rural areas, completely dominated by a dominant caste in that particular locality, maybe patriarchal, tradition bound, custom bound, sometimes floating away all those norms. There comes conflict of interest, situational dilemma. And Supreme Court said, that when it is, going against the law of the land, they will be punished. That recently. Intercaste marriages never, tolerated. Ultimately, what will happen? There comes, even Gotra-based marriage dissolution. Ultimately, who is in the receiving end? Women and children. They are left out. This guy will be happily marrying another girl. That's what happening. This is the outcome of, that the very Kap Panchayats or the kangaroo courts, the Katta Panchayat in Tamil, we call the intercaste marriages, killings accordingly, honor killings. The name of caste pride, they kill. Oh my God. Huh? You want to kill your own daughter or son, but you want to uphold the caste tradition to enjoy, the status in the eyes of, the society, your own locality. The people forgot the very purpose of living. Of course, that not to kill, not to harm. There comes role of ethics. There comes role of value system. There comes role of your, that belief, faith system, part of the culture. You are misled. Maybe mob behavior, mob lynching we are talking about. That way we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to, the clarity, of course, without compromising justice and legality. What is right in one particular occasion may be wrong in another occasion. Because in the past, that the practice of sati, you can't, again say the practice of sati. That itself injustice. So it has to take into account in terms of temporal sense and spatial sense. What is right in one place is wrong in another place. The very driving license, that accorded here in Indian women, but only recently in Saudi Arabia. Probably if Indian women, that were tried, that driving license, how they would have even various feminist movements were arrested. One lady was crucial in bringing this law, the driving license for women, of course, in Saudi Arabia. Of course, Islam, low status of women, you might be aware. So that law varies from place to place, religion to religion, country to country. What is right in one place is wrong in another place. We are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way, so that you are supposed to choose what is optimal path, that leads to maximum happiness for maximum. Later, you also devise another tool to address the left out people. Then you work towards inclusive governance, inclusive growth, even inclusive learning. That is justice for all, without compromising. There you move from that equality to equity, understanding that unique problems on the part of the people. And you devise a separate mechanism. That is how you justify reservation, protective discrimination, positive discrimination, the protection of women, the child laborers. Differently, that abled people. Of course, recent Supreme Court judgment, they should be given, that the reservation, that on par with the SC/ST, the treatment. Yeah, how you justify on these grounds? We're talking about it that way. So all these, ethics, accountability, the principle standards, the integrity, the truth becomes, honesty in the long run. The honesty, of course, in the long run becomes integrity. The very value system, general guidelines to an action, everything what we talk about, part of ethics, of course, ladies and gentlemen. So the conflict of interest, it is almost like ethical dilemma in the governing mechanism you face. The conflict of interest, of course, let me give you an example. As Union Commerce Minister, that you allow, a particular, that MNC project, and especially its own, that FDI in India. But what happened, right? The very project, when it goes for, that the clearance, when the Union Environment and Forest Ministry and Climatic Change, when it goes there, on the environment impact assessment, it was stopped. It is violating environmental standards, norms, whatever maybe you talk about. Ultimately, what happened, right? After 6 months, the very particular government decides, the commerce minister, that there comes, cabinet reshuffle. This commerce minister will be shifted to occupy the portfolio of Union Environment and Forest Ministry and Climatic Change. What happens, right? This guy, immediately gives clearance to that, stalled projects. That you may not be knowing. As a minister, what you did is right, you got your own discretion. Of course, you got justification. Right, no doubt. But that how come the same person who gave that permission there in the when he was part of the Commerce Ministry or Union Finmin, how come he can give permission to this particular project? Is it not conflict of interest? Otherwise, you just imagine a situation, that recently in Tamil Nadu, the sitting chief minister, Edappadi, of course, nothing wrong. It came in newspaper, that who knows. And, he's awarding of tender, that to his own, that in-laws. Of course, that to very family people. That became, conflict of interest we are talking about. How do you justify it that way? That so otherwise, the union minister, that awarding, all those contracts, that contracts, the tender, that completely used by, that one MNC, benefited. The MNC is benefited out of it, where that the large, that stakeholder or shareholder happened to be the son of that union minister. How do you justify? That way we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, and also the conflict of interest, that the very committee commission, that the MPs we are talking about, various committees, part of parliamentary committees, the expert committee, of course, that to supplement the works of, various, that portfolios, where one of the MPs, that we are talking happened to be part of, that one MNCs, that running tobacco industries. That guy, that has become, that particular MP has got, that the home based, of course, it's not home based, the corporate MNC, tobacco industry, but he has become MP. And that MP now part of this, that the committee decides what should be the size of, the statutory warning to those, that tobacco products. Should we increase the size of, that the advertisement or reduce, especially on cigarette boxes? This guy, when this guy, he has got, his own, that MNC, the tobacco industry, how can, that he can be part of this particular committee? That talks about conflict of interest. It is in governing mechanisms we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. That you may not be knowing the insider information. You may not be knowing. Now we are living in the world of social network. Everything you come to know. The Right to Information Act is there, but you think about all round violations that happened in the past. The 20 to 30 years back. You don't know what happened. It never comes to public. But people will justify nothing wrong happened, that instead of somebody else, that this guy took that order. No, it's not like that. And it has got, that the beneficiary there comes, the conflict ultimately, the conflict of interest. The nepotism, favoritism, cronyism in practice we are talking about. So the issues of reform in governance we speak, that I'm not going into depth. I understand this is introductory session. Hope you understand. You get the flavor. That is what needed here. The role of committee commissions we are talking about, the role of committee and commissions, especially that is what, to ultimately fix it, there comes, the style trend on the part of governance mechanism, and the government, that doesn't want to commit itself, they'll form committee or commission. That guys, that will be working for 3 years, 4 years, there will be extension of the period also, enjoying all amenities, doing nothing. Finally, they will come with one particular report, that the people by the time would have forgotten, because people's memory is very short. People play with that. All retired people will be accommodated by various committee commissions. It's not outrightly maligning those, that expert people I'm talking about, but it's also happening parallelly. It is not free from this particular criticism. You understand? So the government's responsibility to inquire into that particular issue and forming committee, commission. By the time gone, there comes another government, forget everything. It's waste of money. The taxpayers' money. Otherwise, that particular money could have been utilized for some other, schemes that benefits the whole downtrodden people, or that society in general we are talking about. More complicated and digitally connected world. We are living in a world, it is highly complicated, that for everything in the name of specialization, it's getting complicated. Ordinary layman cannot understand, that you may call specialization, but for ordinary people it's a complicated mechanism. The division of labor leading to specialization. The simplicity of very living has become very complex because of the division of labor, because of the specialization, because of the advanced, the technology. I'm not saying, we don't need all those things. That is the nature, simple to complex. Even Charles Darwin, the organic analogy. Today is the day, that the very origin of species of Charles Darwin got released. So it's right time to speak. Yes, life is all about moving from simple to complex. That way, that the complexity and digitally connected world, that the world as a village, the global village, the globalization we are talking about, thanks to that liberalization, privatization, globalization, which is not free from criticism also. That, that each and every nation, that integrating itself with the international state system. thanks to the advancement in technology. A click away distance we are talking about. Yes, enormous power of humanity that has bestowed the humanity with enormous power. A click away distance. Just by googling, you come to know everything. By simply sitting in your own place, you come to know what's happening in the world. It's not running pillar to the post what happened in the past. Technology facilitating, saving your time, giving more access. It becomes additional tool, fantastic tool that enriches your understanding. But what you do with what you have, that's totally different scenario. We are talking about, the click of the mouse, the world of social networks we are living in. With that, with Facebook, immediately, next second you come to know what's happening in the world, different parts of the globe. Thanks to that, that the social network, so that but parallelly we have to ensure that this social network, the social medium is not becoming selfish medium for character assassination, for misleading people, or the hate speeches, otherwise, that the inciting of communal violence, that divides people. That's German, that way we are talking about, and demands of more responsibility and ethical sensitivity. More responsibility and ethical sensitivity. With more power comes, more responsibility. Don't say, that Spider-Man, Peter Parker. With more power comes more responsibility. You have to take care. It is payback time. And also, ethically sensitive. You understand, that it's not, the doing justification in the name of existing legal mechanisms or bottlenecks on the part of legality, or Supreme Court judgments, or that red tapeism on the part of, bureaucracy. No, not at all. It has to be delivered to the originally intended masses, whatever may be the program, whatever may be the scheme. There you are supposed to be sensitive, because otherwise people will die. By effectively making public distribution system, working properly, don't you drive away hunger? How long? How long? On the one side, you are talking, that all corporate giants, the top MNCs, service sector, that the top rich men in the world, from India, you are talking about. Top, that technically advanced people, everything you talk about. That on the other side, the poor picture, of course, the 40% of the people going to bed, with hunger. What is that? Are we not sensitive ethically? If you don't take care of your, the brothers, how come you can say you are Vishwa Guru in the international state system? That even there is also saying on the part of Quran, I believe, when your neighborhood is hungry, how come you can eat, that, you can conduct feast in your home? Otherwise, even the Gurban, you have to take good things from all religions. All religions are teaching only right path, ethics. It's unfortunate, people misunderstood the religion, or people, that thrive out of religion. The self-expedient people, they mislead, they divide people in the name of religion. So when you make biryani, the very smell spreads to, the distance. With that, to that much distance, you have to share your biryani. That's what, the Gurbani, that the very Islam, what, you have to take a lot of right things from, different angles, different religions. Making ethically, when your own people starving, how come you can say, that you have become rich? It's lopsided. But at the same time, it is not, making parasitic world. The name of freebies, populistic measures. Maybe in the beginning you feed, later you have to enable them. Share the technology, skill enablement. They have to stand on their own. They have to be independent. You support them to become independent. That's totally different scenario. Of course, we are talking about ethically. You are supposed to be ethically sensitive. When my people are starving, how come I can say Vishwa Guru, a global leader or superpower? When all my migrant people are dying, what is the measure I have? So we have to think about that way. The ethical sensitivity. How come you can say, that, the superpower, the Asia's emerging economic potential, how? It's making mockery of the whole scenario then. And also while negotiating power, we have to be ethically sensitive. Got the point now? You have to take decision in such a way. Because well, you can fool some people sometimes. Some people all the time. Not all the people. That's what we come to. When there is injustice in the relationship, that among our people, the relationship will not be long lasting. When Martin Luther King speaks that way. And also justice delayed is justice denied. Hello, judiciary. Justice delayed is justice denied. It's not taking up, few cases first. You have to take up everybody's case. It's not equality, equity too. Hmm? It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about, even while negotiating power, we are talking about it. It's that way. So, what is that? It's not only that. When I'm introducing the very ethics to you, that so that you put yourself, you come to know what is ethics after all, right? So, it's not only that, when I say you got dilemma, ethical dilemma, whether to choose this or that, where you get dilemma? When? Let me give you occasions like that. It may be between, that environment versus development. Whether do you want, mere economic development at the cost of environmental standards? You want, that all those industries without streamlining the pollution norms. Of course, what's happening, that even in Tamil Nadu, South, of course, that, all those, that the Tirupur, all those, that, the textile industries, the effluents, that mixed with nearby rivers, ultimately, the Noyal River, it's ultimately contaminating, that ultimately the groundwater table there. Even the Tirupur, the Erode, Tudupadi region, that the people got exposed to that, the contaminated water pollution. They've got all those skin diseases. The grandma will be very fair and she has got lot black marks, the scars, wart, the skin disease, the outcome. Think about future generation. It's also, that it's spoiling the soil, the soil quality there. Think about, the agriculture there. Oh my God, that I think, I have to appreciate, that Miss Amuda, of course, that IAS, and now she is part of PMO now. And she did, that she sealed all those companies, that there came guys got affected for my recommendation. Then my uncle was district collector that time. I said, no, I never took them. The guy who came for recommendation is now IAS officer. See? So environmental degradation, they are not bad because they are predominantly dominated by economic development. Their own profit. So this is, that ethical dilemma. The collector took right decision, sealed all those. What will happen? As a collector, you will do. Another collector will come. A corrupt collector will immediately open up. What is this? So there comes ethical dilemma, whether to speak in favor of environment or to speak in favor of economic development. There comes the dilemma. You have to choose between, and also whether to speak in favor of, social solidarity, social stability, or mere material development. They're talking about. See, when you talk about, 8-lane road project, that to facilitate a corporate giant Jindal, that's from, Salem to, the Madras. Are you favoring, that corporate people, or are you, that is it at the cost of agricultural lands of, that all those, that the farmers there, the very path? Ultimately, they come to streets, they protest against it. Do you want law and order? Do you want equilibrium? Do you want social stability there? Or do you want mere, material development, economic development by favoring few corporates? Is it mere corporate driven, that politics? Where you got your own ethics, that ethical dilemma. We are talking about whether to speak in favor of, strict law, strictly adhering to law, or talking about fairness or justice. Is that law really delivering the goods? Circumstantial evidence proving that, an innocent person guilty, a culprit, but the judge knows. There comes, that may violate the fairness or justice, but you strictly adhere to law. There comes, that your dilemma, whether to go by, that law book or go by justice, fairness. There are a lot of, that examples like that. You come to know. And also, that whether to strictly always, that talk about your rights. My right to live, my right to, that access all. Yes, you got your own right. Who questions? You got fundamental right. Article 20, Article 12 to 35, no doubt. Of course, Article 32, 22, 26, we have got, to enforce your, that rights, of course, through jurisdiction. The High Courts and Supreme Courts, we have no doubt. It is part of basic structure also of the Indian Constitution. Don't you understand one thing? You also have your duties, because they are almost like two sides of a single coin. Unless until you discharge your duties, you have no right to talk about your fundamental right, because they go together. Even there is a saying in Tamil, கடமையை செய்வதிலிருந்தே உரிமைகள் பிறக்கின்றன. செய்ய வேண்டியதை செய்யணும். What is meant for, what is due, you have to strictly discharge your duties. Later you can talk about your enforcement of your rights, or your fundamental rights, encroached upon or violated by somebody else. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. So it's almost like two sides of a single coin. Rights and duties go together. We are talking about. And competition versus compatibility. It is not expecting, that even we are talking about, that the very United Nations Framework Convention on Climatic Change, part of United Nations Framework Environmental Program, part of United Nations Organization, or Conference of Party meetings. What happens, right? They're all developed countries, they have reached a level and they've got, technology also. And now they are dictating terms when it comes to international organization. They say India, otherwise all developing countries, underdeveloped countries, when you try to fix, that industry, you should undergo all these norms. Right? You did everything, you reached a level, now you become rich, you got technology, you got recycling mechanism, but you are dictating terms. Who questioned all these things when you were starting industry? But what happened? You dictate terms. Is it child labor free, eco-friendly, like that in the World Trade Organization? So ultimately, what happened? Developing countries ultimately demanding. So that we all nations should come together to mitigate all this the pollution emission. That's what Kyoto Protocol. So ultimately, people said no, 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 no. That you got different responsibility, I've got different responsibility. It's not compatible. Because you polluted more than what we polluted, what we are thinking of polluting. We are yet to start industry. You already polluted the world. That now you should not, that Satan can't preach diktat. Satan can't preach Vedas. Satan, you call me. Satan ki bacha. You call that way. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So, we have to compete in such a way so as to mitigate all these greenhouse gases and making the world, are contributing to global warming. Oh, you stop, you stop. It is not compatible. Let's have collective but differentiated responsibility. You get the point? That is what the Kyoto Protocol mechanism. The largest polluters yet to ratify the Kyoto Protocol. You might be aware. Part of United Nations Framework Convention on Climatic Change. This is all about, the sustainable development we are talking about. The environmental sustainability. What is that? It is not simply talking about, competition and also compatibility. It is not expecting all citizens are equal. But, Ambani, Adani cannot be equated with, Aam Aadmi here. The compatibility. So, Aam Aadmi should not feel the government of the day favoring only, the corporate people. Of course, we get, the profit from corporate, no doubt. At the same time, there comes responsibility to take care of, Aam Aadmi also, the poor farming community, marginal small farmers also. There should be a balance. We are talking about the compatibility. Otherwise, it leads to widening social inequality. We are talking about. You understand this. And politics versus ethics. We are talking about. It may be one of the 7 sins according to Mahatma Gandhi. Politics without ethics. By any means you want to capture the power. Anti-defection law, nothing working. And the marriage of the convenience for alliance formation. And what's happening, that switching away party loyalty, even the anti-defection is not constraining them. What's happening? And identity politics, trying to influence the voting behavior of the masses. And in the name of, the caste, religion, region, even ethnicity, language, why not? And also on the other side, that favoring corporates, the lobby, because it's quid pro quo ultimately. I will take care of your, needs once I come to power. Even before announcing budget, I will discuss with you. After that, I'll go for budget. That's a quid pro quo mechanism. Favoring few corporates because they financed you, funded you, your party, the lobby. It's US model. Same thing happening here in India also because running party, that the politics involves investment of money, dealing with money. Even getting a ticket, you have to give 5 crores, 10 crores. What will happen? This guy will come and earn at the cost of people, at the cost of all those MP lads, at the cost of all those schemes, programs, policies. That goes against the people. It has become business. Your politics, the political difference, the political party, capturing power to govern that should benefit the people. Trickle down theory is not working. The intentions of the government is not penetrating to the originally intended masses. When that's happening, it is unethical. Ethics, the arasiyal padaithoruku arame kootragum. We are talking about in Tamil. A guy who lived out of politics, ultimately one day fine morning, the very politics itself will kill him. That is the meaning, of course, you take into account. The principles will kill him. It is that way at the end of the day, karma theory. So the politics, that without compromising ethical standards we are talking about. Of course, here, that the dilemma. Of course, if any guy, strictly with ethical standards, He may not be voted to park. People may not be choosing him. This guy will not be suitable for that. இவர் இதுக்கெல்லாம் சரிபட மாட்டார் in Tamil. இந்த நீதி நேர்மை நியாயம் எல்லாம் பேசுவார். This guy will be always running after morality, ethics, standards. Because they want, that like them, yatha praja, tata raja. A guy who is capable of giving 5,000 rupees or even 20,000 rupees or Kanagar constituency per vote. So they want, leaders like that. How that guy can give? Only, he would have already indulged in corruption, amazed wealth by violating all those norms on the part of the government or stashed away money. Oh my God. Because people wanted, but this is what, the mindset of the people is getting reflected in the leadership. Yatha Raja, Tata Praja. No, Yatha Praja, Tata Sansthan. Yatha Praja, the Tata Raja. We are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So, that it is not accusing the political community or bureaucrats. First, be the change that you wish to see in the world. You have to change. People should change first. That demands we are talking about, of course. That has got responsibility, socialization. What you put, that comes out. We are talking about, that the effective role played by all those institutions, starting from family. That ultimately you started believing in. It is that way. The kids are, learning by what you do than by what you say. The kids are learning more by what you do than by what you say. It's not preaching, practicing. Of course, social mobility versus equity. We are talking about, of course, social mobility. Yes, we have to provide all those, that investments in such a way so that society moves upward. People moving from one state to another in that path, people should not, section of population should not feel left out. As I said, that in the name of, corporate development, you should not, that leave, the small and marginal farmers, the agriculture. At the same time, it is not, a dominant caste thriving at the cost of, a marginalized caste in a particular locality or downtrodden people. You have to understand the plight or unique problems on the part of the people. So that is where we are justifying. It is not growth of few people. It is a growth for everyone. The growth benefits everyone. Economic growth should not be the growth of few corporates. The 10% of the people controlling 90% of the resources. You just imagine. The widening social inequality. I'm not favoring parasitic population through, the freebies, that are lazy people, lethargic people. I'm talking about, that when able people are deprived from enjoying, that opportunities, there comes a question mark. I'm not asking you to compromise the meritocracy. At the same time, that oppression and suppression done hitherto is getting justified in the name of reservation, where you call protective discrimination, positive discrimination. Or article, though we have got article 14, 15, we talk about 15 bracket 4, 16 within bracket 4, 45, 164, 275, 338, 340, 342, 5th schedule, 6th schedule. Why not? But that way, ladies and gentlemen, so social mobility, it's not talking about, that mere progress, and also it should be, that parallelly with purpose, justice, fairness. Address the unique problems on the part of, that every sections of population, that leads to inclusive governance. Where you got ethical dilemma, whether to choose this or that. Excuse me. And also you talk about, the good governance versus ethical governance. When you talk about governance, there is a rule. From, Sabha, Samiti, Vidata, Ghana, even tribal council in the primitive society. We had our administration, no doubt. In Sabha, Samiti, women were allowed to participate. The Gupta era, low status of women. Of course, Mughal era worsening the scenario. Even before European society, we introduced in India the women the right to vote. You might be aware. So coming, the governance is all about, that having the rules and regulation ultimately. That we it's a delegated legislation. We send some people, maybe elders, maybe learned people. Ultimately, they take care of administration. They pass law, and the law will be implemented by the executive's concern. Ultimately, people we strictly adhere to, abide by this mechanism. Maybe we have got constitution now, the governance mechanism. But when we talk about, accountability, responsibility, transparency of administration, it is called good governance. Through Right to Information Act, thanks to that Parivartan movement, whether that this Shri Arvind Kejriwal or Shri Aruna Rai, we are talking about, thanks to their efforts, we are talking about the Right to Information Act, we are talking about, of course, good governance, which talks about accountability. The people with power are accountable to the people. The Union Council of Ministers collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. That is the heart and soul of parliamentary democracy. It is House of People. Otherwise, the transparency of administration, that it is not the Official Secrets Act, that through which you deprive people from knowing the truth. The people should be aware of that what's happening part of the scheme and what is the benefit. It's not saying that why should I tell you? It's not talking about authority or hierarchy. The customer is the king. People are customers. You are public. Even Prime Minister Modi ji says he is Pradhan Sevak. How come you guys, after all, that secretary level, some collector, IAS, IPS, you have to understand. When Prime Minister himself Pradhan Sevak, who are you? You have to understand, that all my kids, that as future leaders, you have to understand this principle. You want to serve the nation. You want to serve the community. You want to serve your people, the society. That's why you are here. You are sitting in front of me. To serve, you can also reach God by serving people. You have chosen this path. Where, who is your customer? Aam Aadmi especially, priority. So it is that way. So there, the transparency in administration, thanks to Right Information Act, in spite of that, the very law is utilized in such a way. They are not revealing the complete information, which is not free from, all those, that the official hierarchies, clutches we are talking about. So whatever may be, when governance, that is called good governance because of responsibility, accountability, transparency in administration, ethical governance is next level we are talking about, where you are not constrained by law. You apply morality, what is right, what is wrong, because that the ethics is more than law. What is practical? You pass the law which is not working, ultimately you back. See, that's what a law without social sanction is ineffective. When people are not supporting the law, what is the use of having law? The very purpose of the law, that should reflect the mindset of the people. That should reflect the needs of the people. That should fulfill the needs of the people. That should become part of the solution. The law itself should not, complicate. So, of course, there comes conflict, of course. Maybe the Supreme Court thinking that in the name of, giving justice to the women should also be allowed to participate in the worship, during her period's time, menstruation period, when it comes to Sabarimala. The Supreme Court gave judgment. But people, that the felt, it is against the religious practice. You want to do justice at the cost of, by a section of course, women. You want to do justice to women. Are you not feeling that you are doing injustice to the belief or believer of that particular tradition? Are people having faith in that particular tradition? There comes, that ethical dilemma, the court, whether to choose this or that. There comes, protest also. But there we speak, a law without social sanction is ineffective. Who gave you authority to interfere in somebody else's puja room or bedroom or kitchen room? Is it not violating the fundamental rights? There comes, ultimately. Fundamental rights happen to be, the part of basic structure we are talking about. Of course, there comes, which way you have to take in. We are talking about ethical governance is all about that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only that, so see here, hitherto we are talking, we are living in the world where we are talking about corporate social responsibility. You corporate MNCs, you benefited out of these resources, right? This locality, cheap labor, everything, right? This is your time, you pay back. The Corporate Social Responsibility Act, even the scientific social responsibility. It is not inventing something which no way benefits people. You invent something that should benefit the people. Thanks to Norman Borlaug, the Rockefeller Foundation, that Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, the Green Revolution in India attained self-sufficiency in food grains because of that. Of course, it is also not free from criticism. The scientific, the social responsibility, which is not something you invent that is going to destroy the world. As Alfred Nobel Prize, why the Nobel Prize got instituted? Because he felt ethically guilty. Because the very dynamite, his own, discovery, how it led to the destruction of the masses. So he instituted the people excelling in terms of, that taking the humanity to the next level, and also peace got in Oslo Peace Prizes, Stockholm Prizes, well. Scientific social responsibility. It is not the very purpose of the science to make the life betterment. It is to work towards the betterment of the very living, not to destroy the living. There we are talking about ill effects of science and technology, the pollution all around. Otherwise, the weapons of mass destruction, chemical and biological. So your invention discovery should not work in such a way that work towards ethnic cleansing or wiping out the whole civilization or humanity. Once you realize that, the governance should keep in that mind. It is that way. So ethical governance, corporate social responsibility, scientific social responsibility, inclusive governance, inclusive growth, financial inclusion. Of course, various measures taken in Government of India, Prime Minister Dhan Jan Yojana we are talking about, and Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana and Mudra Yojana, even Atmanirbhar, self-reliant economy we are working towards, everything. In the way, of course, we are talking about, of course, the decision what you take, the stand what you take, whether you speak on behalf of good governance or is in favor of, ethical. It's not as per book. The straight by law, you can't do everything. Sometimes, that the flexibility, practicality, the compassion towards people. That's what I used to say. That you just imagine a situation, one old widow lady, nobody's there, and that when you are a district collector coming and that blocking your path, ultimately she falls in front of your car. That you suddenly your driver stops your car. Ultimately, that you get up. That all your PAs and the police wall are going and asking that lady, trying to beat. Ultimately, you stop as a district collector. Don't do anything. Yeah, come on, grandma. What's your problem? Why you did? Why you gone to this extreme step of that losing your life, especially in my convoy? And she says, nobody for me. I lost hope because that my husband is no more. That I'm not getting his pension. My kids, they took away all my property. They've thrown me out. Even my relatives supported them. Nobody's there. I'm orphaned because I have no documents. How to live? It is waste to live. Let me die. That is why I came. People said you are district collector. I approached. I couldn't even access you because they said they stopped me. The office itself. Immediately the collector because understands the situation. Okay, you don't know anything, right? I'm immediately asking the PA, come on, take this lady. They take her and they give her food and they take nearby orphanage home. Let her stay there. And also that give her the 2 to 3 sarees under that particular scheme. Let her get something. And also meanwhile that you talk with that concerned that locality, maybe who is the tahsildar, who is that that village administrative officer concerned, gather information, try to create some sort of documents for her, Aadhaar card, everything, so that she becomes beneficiary part of various schemes. And also parallelly inquire who are all responsible, why she is not getting the pension, or how the property took away by the sons, daughters, that, and that even Supreme Court judgment in favor of them, ultimately get back all those property and that recover the he initiates action. And this is a tip of an iceberg. He understood ultimately what happens, right? That immediately asking every Sunday 2 hours meant for addressing the grievances of old age people in this particular district. Let me meet 8 to 10 every day morning. Come on. He initiates that. An optimist will see solution in every problem. Pessimist will see problem in every solution. It is an opportunity. Of course, the old lady without documents, it's not, that sending your people, and taking her to the police station, she tried to, block the convoy, she should be punished. That is law. But out of you understood your compassion. You understand the plight of people. That demands, compassion. You care. You don't have to be brilliant. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be educated. That to help others. You have to be concerned. You take care. That's more important. Out of compassion, out of passion. That's part of ethics. You became sensitive, ethically sensitive. It's not violating the law. You parallelly asked your people to initiate the documents and fix the issue, and also took that opportunity in fixing the issues on the part of old age peoples in that particular district. Then ultimately the state administration realizes how elder people are happy in that particular district, announcing the scheme. Ultimately, you have become secretary to take care of that particular issue of that old age people throughout the state administration. You are working that fantastic. Ultimately, central government recognizes you, inviting you for ultimately on deputation. You become cabinet secretary, even given double promotion, triple promotion. You are appreciated. Now the Indian elder people's care is taken care. A separate authority established where you are chairman. So I'm just talking possibilities. It's that way. Ladies and gentlemen, it is talking about good governance, and ethical governance is all about that. You got opportunity. Ethics is more than law. It is not by citing legal provisions to say it can't be done. No, you are part of the solution. Go beyond. It is that way, you are there to serve the people, not to cite legal, the complexity to deprive them further. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about it, the ethical dilemmas we are talking about. And also, that you take into account, that, so even the international fora, the missing of statesman vision, only me attitude, America for Americans. Eh? And that how Trumpism, that underwent, you might be aware. So even at the international organization, withdrawal attitude by Trump, that fortunately this particular Joe Biden administration taking part, setting right all those damages done by Trump, you might be aware. So withdrawal from UNESCO, withdrawal from, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, withdrawal from everything. It is that way, and also threatening the World Health Organization, that they will withdraw. It is that way, only me attitude. Because you happen to be largest contributor, you expect that international institutions dance to your tunes. That's what happening in the international fora. That's why even we don't want, that much support from Western focused financial institutions. We want, that help from the Eastern focused financial institutions. That's why. In the international context, you see the few nations trying to, that work as a cartel in bullying others. Other developed world, whether it is World Trade Organization, United Nations Organization, international financial institutions, everywhere. It is that way, that the missing of statesman vision, they don't understand. They try to defeat everybody. That's wrong. You should not try to defeat everybody. Rather, you try to win the hearts of everybody. That's becoming long-lasting relationship. It's very easy to defeat others, but try to win the hearts of everybody. You have to work a lot. That demands your passion. That demands your sacrifice, as Gandhiji put it. That demands sacrifice. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's that way. Deadlock and impasse in the global meets, whether it is international environmental standards, whether it is World Trade Organization. Of course, you see everywhere. Climatic change, the talks are, it's related to World Trade Organization, the trade related aspects, tariff reduction. Even now, you talk about, trade war between US and China and imposing sanctions, the CAATSA, economic sanctions. So that comes, deadlock and impasse in global meets, that even RISEP from which, that we came out, India came out of that. Regional cooperation on economic partnership, I believe. Of course, it is that way. So liberation is from the limitations of, that only me attitude, that the world is as a one family, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, where we are all stakeholders. It is that way. So liberation from the limitations of only me attitude. The international platform calls for ethical diplomacy, not form, from economic diplomacy. Ethical diplomacy, that it's not because, all foreign ambassadors, you might be aware, their focus in what way they can attract, more investments to India, economic diplomacy. But ethical diplomacy, where you emphasize, the world as a one family, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, we are all stakeholders. We have to live together symbiotically. In what way I can contribute so that you live happily. It is that way, that ethical diplomacy talks about long-lasting relationship. It is not zero-sum concept of theory, variable-sum concept of theory. Let's all live, that together. It is that way. So, and where you are supposed to drop your only me attitude. So you get liberated from that in the international platform. If you think that way, if you start working through that way, you favor ethical diplomacy than mere economic diplomacy. There is a saying in Tamil, Adara Padara Sambaricha Panam, Kadara Kadara Poi Sero. No. The thing which you earned by wrong means, will not stay with you for long. But you don't say, no, it's not like that. You're wrong. People are happy through illicit money. Maybe this generation, next generation. What is the use of, that living happy life, by compromising future generation? A faulty generation. You took 40 years to earn everything. One day, fine morning, in 1 year, the future generation, not understanding the value of that, will spoil everything with one stroke. They don't know the value. Because it is not, that the long-lasting relationships based on which, or standards or principles based on which you built your empire. You understand? It's that way we are talking about. So you have to understand, it's not mere short-term economic benefits, the long-term relationship. That's based on standards, that's based on principles, without yielding to, that the emotional high grounds we are talking about. That takes time, that demands passions. Great things, it is the empire building. It will take time, no doubt, but you are supposed to. That is what we are talking about. That it is that way. So there is a saying, that a brick which was hasty, ultimately ended up that with the foundation of a building in a temple. But the bricks waited that with passions for a long time. They reached the top, the Gopram, Vimana, you call it, the top of that, that a Gopram it reached, so that everybody started worshiping. Of course, the brick which was hasty, that felt urgent, reached only foundation of that particular temple. But foundation is also very important, altogether different argument. But the very bricks, which waited, there is a saying in Tamil, I'm just translating to you. அவசரப்பட்ட செங்கற்கள் கோபுரத்தின் அடித்தளத்தை சென்றடைந்தது. ஆனால் பொறுமையாக இருந்த செங்கற்களோ that கோபுரத்தின் உச்சியை சென்றடைந்தன. There is a saying like that. So I'm talking, I translated just, that the hastiness, no, passions, the leadership, long-lasting relationship, it is the empire-building process that demands sacrifice. We are talking about, it's not mere, short-term economic gains. We have to think about, long-lasting. It has to go. நீங்காத செல்வம் வேண்டும், மங்காத புகழ் வேண்டும், மாபெரும் சபைகளில் நீ நடந்தால் உனக்கு மாலைகள் விழ வேண்டும். That's totally different flavor. Long-lasting, resources. Unblemished, that fame. Wherever you go, you should not be liked. You should be respected. People know your value. It's not demanding respect from anybody. You will be respected wherever you go because they know your value. It is that way we are talking about. That's life. That's life, complete life you call. It is that the global state system versus sovereignty. What happened, right? In the name of multipolar world, in the name of international organization, once you become signatory, are you not losing your sovereignty? Are you not losing your purpose? Are you not compromising your national identity? Are you not compromising your domestic interest? That's what the cry. In that sense, you got the responsibility. On the one side, you should not compromise your sovereignty. You have to take care of your economic interests. At the same time, you should not get isolated in the international fora. You should put across your views in such a way so that you understand the plight, so that they come together, appreciate your viewpoint, so that, it works towards, a multipolar world. The international state system we are talking about, and also the sustainable development. When you say sustainable development, the development that sustains forever. Long-lasting, the growth should not be at the cost of future generation. We are talking about, so where you demand conservation, preservation of all flora, fauna. For every 1 degree Celsius rise of the temperature of the planet of the earth, 10% of species washed out, both flora, fauna. For every 1 degree Celsius, of course, I'm sitting with my, that air condition. Of course, all your consumer durables, automobiles. That's why, the greenhouse gases emitting, talking about. So conserve wherever possible. Try to, that when nobody is there, you have to turn off your switches at home. Conservation. The people will say, this guy, that very thrift guy like that. You conserve for future, that consumption. For others' consumption, may not be yours. Otherwise, what will happen? That exhausting fossil fuels, that you add more carbon to the atmosphere. Unless until necessary, you don't take car. Of course, in India, public transportation system, except metro, is not strong. Even the metro people should understand, they have to create that, parking slots in the metro. So people will go two-wheeler cars, they will park immediately, take up that, the metro. They have to work towards it. If public transportation system is strong, nobody will take car. They will rely on that. They will use car only for personal purpose. For everyday official purpose, they may not take. That you understand. There comes the role of government also. We're talking about all these things. I'm introducing you ethics, lyrics, development, and talking about that you have to conserve your flora, fauna, environmental ethics. We are going to talk about. There comes, it is not that the forefathers, even J.C. Bose. The plant has got life, the sensitivity of the plant, radiations. Of course, other people benefited. Even Marconi benefited because of J.C. Bose research. People are saying that the inventions comes before inventor. That's he didn't go for patenting. You might be aware, according to J.C. Bose from West Bengal. You might be aware. The sensitivity on the part of plant and radiations, vibrations, that the Western thinkers benefited. They came up and they got patented. Marconi radio, everybody. But our people did not do that because they said it should benefit people, humanity. It is that way. We are talking about why J.C. Bose, even the Vallalar, great Vallalar, from Vadalur, that Tamil Nadu, that he says, that Vadiya Payirai Kandabodellam Vadine. Whenever I see a plant is dying, I feel as if I'm dying. The Jiva Karunya principle that demands extraordinary sensitivity in you, ethical sensitivity in you. You treat, that a plant, that even a small creatures like ant, of course, you got, so maybe, that once you strictly adhere to, I hesitate to hit, and I hesitate to hit, a cockroach, ladies and gentlemen. That becomes part and parcel of your personality. You talk about, the flora and fauna, that sensitivity. It's not the generation, only old generation, the thought that way, that you have to eat everything comes in your womb. Oh my God. But it should be natural. You learn and ultimately give up parallelly everything. To understand, you start appreciating nature, flora, fauna, even biotic, abiotic, everything. It's ecosystem, biodiversity. The very that we are living in. We are part of that particular ecosystem. It's speaking the justice not only for living things, even for non-living things. You respect everything, not only for flora, fauna, plants and animals, otherwise you call. So it's not only the responsibility of older generation, even current generation should be taught in such a way. That's what I'm saying. Every school should have, project in such a way, 6th standard to, the first standard to, of course, from 6th standard onwards, there should be a project. You should, that maintain one tree, one plant, and also, that you should do, that a small portion, maybe 10 by 10, in the government land should be allotted for that particular purpose. School kids, the vacant lands, Purambo can be allotted for that particular purpose. They do agriculture, it should be a practice, and what are all the plights, what are all the problems. They will start understanding the plight of, that the agriculture community, and also you participate, maybe organic farming. It should be a project involving them in the process. It's not theoretical learning. Even engineering graduation, it's a waste 4 years, I say. That only study holidays, that 6 months semester, that not even 15 days, people are studying. Rest of the day is wasting. 2 years for theory, 2 years for practical, I say. 2 years, the part of the graduation, they should be sent to industry. It's not mere industrial visit like, 2 to 3 visit I'm talking about. So, the very laboratory training, again, that the teachers should be qualified enough to enable the kids in such a way, making them understand the purpose and linking with the reality. It's not theoretical version. All those things, that we see lacuna everything. Hope, that the very HRD is addressing, the higher education is addressing that way. We are talking about it's not the responsibility of older people. Young generation also should understand, should be incorporated in such a way. We are talking about everything. So conservation, preservation, so that you work towards sustainable development. That's ethical sensitivity. And also the role of anthropogenic factors in all man-made disasters. That the vagaries of monsoon, even, that the drought, even, the very flooding, disaster November, December in India. Delhi becomes, gas chamber. Chennai becomes, a great bath, Mohenjo-daro great bath. Because of flooding, you might be aware. It's because of, the global warming, you say, various 16 parameters of monsoon, El Nino, La Nina. What about anthropogenic factor? The man-made disaster. What about encroachment? See, the water management, for which, the very South India Chola administration, well known. I think recently the collector from Kadlur, that guy should be appreciated. He has done wonderful jobs in rejuvenating all those water bodies in that particular district. Let me appreciate him. That's in the water management scheme of, Chola. There came an article also. You have to do something like that. He is your role model. So the very Chennai and nearby areas, the various water bodies completely encroached. Pakam, Vakam, Yendal, Tangal, Yeri, all those terms are meant for water bodies. Now they are all prime cities. Complete encroachment, floating all the knobs. And parallel, I'm telling you, CMD authority, hello, my uncle, come and do something there. It's that way, that anthropogenic factor we are talking about. So natural and man-made disasters. So disaster management and international best practices to be practiced, the role of human beings, whether it is, that adding more carbon in the atmosphere and encroachment and violation of all-round norms. Everything, it is, we talk about man-made global warming. It is, anthropogenic factor induced. Man-made disaster we are talking about. The ozone holes, that ultimately, that you made, that holes in the ozone layer of stratosphere, allowing UV rays penetration. Ultimately, that the planet of the earth gets warmth. Ultimately, that every 1 degree rise of Celsius, as I told you, it's not only 10% of, species getting washed away, and also, the melting of snow mountains, and the Larsen Sea, the breakaway ices in the polar region, Arctic, Antarctic region, ultimately the snow is getting melt, sea level rise, low-lying regions, getting submerged. After all, in the planet of the earth, you might be aware, that ultimately, what do you have ultimately? 70% of that water, 30% of land, where you got 7 continents, low-lying regions. Even the Maldivian government, that ultimately, that underwater cabinet meeting they conducted to make awareness. We are talking about the role of anthropogenic factors, the human role in the natural and man-made disaster. There comes ultimately, that so ethical disaster management authorities, and also international best practices to curtail them, to contain them, regulate them. We are talking about to mitigate them and reduce all-round emissions. We are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only that, we also talk about, that the objective way of looking at things. Excuse me. Objective way of looking at this, where we are talking about, of course, the society and social control mechanism, effective mechanism. Given ethical dilemma, you should not take sides, that should be well balanced. What is right? It's not what is comfort. What is right? You have to arrive at. There comes, that the societal and social control mechanism. That what happened, right? When you talk about hunting and food gathering society, people were afraid of force, beatings, the slave, that master and slave relationship. Afraid of the physical, the force or beatings, that they were strictly adhering to the rules and regulations of that particular society. Whereas, traditional agrarian society, there came naturalism. Afraid of, that devastation by natural forces or fury, that worshipping Agni, Purandara, Usha, Aditi, all those, that Indra, Varuna. We talk about it as that way, that later you develop, belief and faith system. There came religion, the very birth of religion. Of course, religion, regulated ultimately, that dharma way, righteous way. Then there came, ultimately, that the science-based society, that scientific temperament. Ultimately, you talk about the logical connectivity. Of course, cause and effect relationship, empirical world, where you talk about, that there you talk about the role of science, law governing people, the industrial society. Now, that in spite of that, problems persisting, otherwise, getting deteriorated on the other hand, the erosion of value system. How? That is what the modern day tools, of course, in the post-industrial society, we need ethics, which is more than law and also practical and flexible and part of the solution that demands other values like passion, compassion, sensitivity, responsibility, accountability, equity, justice. We talk about all these things. Of course, the societal control mechanism that's varying from time to time, place to place. This is in the evolution, that this becomes, that role of ethics, that where you don't need enforcing agencies to monitor whether you strictly adhere to the duty or not. Integrity is all about, even if nobody is watching, you strictly, do what is right. That is called integrity. Because, well-trained mind will never commit mistake. Of course, there are some deviations. Again, you will come back to the original shape. That's what life. That is what integrity is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking that way. Of course, the post-industrial society, that the social control mechanism, of course, you call ethics. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not only that, you also talk about, that the very paper 4 of general studies, that is what called, ethics, which is otherwise called written interview. Because, what is this? When you go to interview, you are asked a question, that over a particular issue, particular aspect, particular entity, your stand, your observation, and your way forward, whatever may be. Same way, instead of asking direct oral question, the name of subject matter ethics, that you are asked question, that maybe on the base of theories, on the base of case studies. This is otherwise called your written interview. It would be appropriate to call that ethics subject as your written interview, because you are interviewed by questions and case studies. You make ethical solution. You provide ethical solution. And to the point ethical solutions within that, whatever may be, whether it is ethics in personal, ethics in social, ethics in public administration, ethics in the probity in governance, you call otherwise, ethics in international relations, or ethics in environmental standards. Using those, that relevant variables, you provide ethical solution with the support of leaders, reformers, thinkers, and also wherever possible, you substantiate legal information also without compromising the facts necessary. This is otherwise called, you before you enter into service, you train yourself, as I told you, right, as a district collector, as a home secretary, as a chairman of CMDA, as a commissioner of one corporation. what you can do. It is that way. So, before you enter into that particular status, you are supposed to socialize yourself. Individual socializing himself or herself with an expectation, that to get a particular state, to enter into a particular status. This, that ethics is all about that. Training you. So it is highly motivating, fun stuff you will come to know because you know everything. I'm just linking with syllabus. The various roles in public service you are going to occupy. Maybe that sub-collector training, then assistant collector, then district collector. Maybe it's then joint secretary. Maybe that some additional secretary, then secretary, additional chief secretary. Maybe the chief secretary. Maybe some special secretary sometimes. Maybe cabinet secretary. Maybe on retirement you become governor. Maybe vice president of India, president of India. Maybe, or maybe international organizations you represent sometimes, or maybe going to head various committee commissions. Why not? Various roles in public service. I'm talking about, that the official functionary with mandate. You got a mandate, that, you are strictly, that supposed to, that to be committed with that. You're supposed to discharge, and where you witness, ethical dilemmas, that to summarize all these things. And also, that in a governance mechanism, you got conflict of interest as we discussed. So introspecting, that where you are supposed to, that introspect, examine, go into deep, analyze, critically analyze the merits and demerits, the consequences, outcome, where you are supposed to do all those things, that. So ultimately the testing your, that ultimately, because your interaction, that you understood something about the world, the present contextuality. After doing that introspection, what is merit, what is demerit over, then ultimately you arrive at decision. But that decision should not be over ambitious. It should reflect the ground reality. It is not immediately saying, that all village people tomorrow 5 morning I'll give you Mercedes Benz for everyone to this family. Like that's very bad. Emotionally over ambitious. Of course, I'm talking about at least let them be free from the problems of roti, kapda, makan. Then good roads, good drinking water, electricity problems, good schools, hospitals, and also that you have one scheme so that everybody will be employed, stand on their own. So that's the reality we are talking about. Be part of solution. It's not the fake or false promises, that ultimately you mislead them. So it's not overtly ambitious, that, and the ideal high ground, thinking that I'm here to change everything. But of course, that they should be taken on board. Maybe not today, maybe in the long run it may be a reality I'm talking about. It is that way. So it's not simply you have to go to their level. You communicate in such a way so that they are able to understand. You have to speak in a language so that they understood better. What I'm doing now, this is only for English medium. People speaking Hindi, coming to that, don't ask me that you should speak Hindi. You got separate Hindi medium, English come Hindi medium. This is pure English medium. I think I'm on my duty. And also I parallelly try to that take care of that the South Indians, the Tamilians, since I'm coming from there. You please try to that parallelly. I've got that very meager support from Hindi. Hope you understand. So that I express. So it is that way. The ideal high grounds, it should not be. It should be practical, flexible. Otherwise, people should not hesitate to approach you by the so-called that. So there is a saying, "Karchiki alien, kadunjul alien." How a leader should be. It should be simple and it should speak, that a soft words, that so that people feel gregarious. It should be a pull factor, not push factor in such a way. So it is that way the leadership as a leader there. Your door should be open for everyone so that they come forward with their issues. They give you opportunity to serve them. It is that way because they are kings ultimately. What is that? Customer is the king. People are ultimately, that you are masters. So without the inflated sense of, the subjective egoism, that it is not I did everything. It is not I did everything. This attitude, egoism, over. You won't be there. There will be someone else in place. Nan dan, adin dan. There is a saying in Tamil. A guy who says, it is I did everything. What if I money? He may not be there. What do you do? எச்சத்தார் காணப்படும். What you did should speak now. What you did should speak. Be long lasting. People will forget, that what you say, what you do. But they will never forget, that people will forget what you say, what you do in the long run. They will never forget how you made them feel. How you made them feel. You became part of solution. Gave long lasting solution. The happiness, the smile in their face because of you. Because of you. as that guy. What I'm talking, that district collector, that one Kadalur, he did, that reviving all those water bodies in the management, that it's we have to appreciate that. He learnt out of Chola administration. He did something. The revival of all this, what you can do. Even that, Miss Amada, part of PMO, she did something. The clearing encroachments in the South Chennai, in Tamil Nadu. You might be aware. And there are other people, all my, that various people did various things. You can connect with them. It is that, whether it is Mr. Sagayam or Mr. Ashok Kemka, whoever may be, that I'm talking about. So without the inflated sense of, I'm as a servant, you do your duty, nishkama karma. It is not expecting something you did. It is renunciation in duty, not renunciation of duty. This is what, the essence of Bhagavad Gita we are talking about. So, that the very plant which has got, that it's one flower, its duty to, that it's a bud to flower. After flowering, after giving, fantastic fragrance, it's not expecting any compensation from others for its own fragrance or its, the flower. It will fall down from, the very plant without disturbing the plant. Unassuming leadership. Anonymity is the core principle of leadership. I'm not talking about, people who run after, that mongering, that advertisement, all those, like politicians, all these, bureaucrats. I'm not talking about that. The anonymity is the core principle of, that the ethics in civil service. You will come to know unassuming leadership. You do for the people. Your duty is to serve, not to project yourself. It's not going for poster or advertising. 70% of the, the poster will be having your, some district collectors in some districts behaving like, that district secretary of a political party. Oh my God. And the days are not far away. They will be thrown. That it is that way. So without the inflated sense of, that subjective egoism we are talking about. So understanding the ground reality, you understand. So you emotion, the very answer you provide in such a way, emotionally intellectualized. It's not getting yielded to the emotion. It's not reacting. It is responding to the occasion, situation, and parallelly what the answer you provide, that should be, that solution for long lasting solution, permanent solution. It's not quick fix solution we are talking about. Short-lived. No. So you should know when you've got choices in front of you, comfort and right, you're supposed to choose right. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So I think, that you understand that, it goes a long way in my, that belief, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, so the trends in ethics, you have to understand how the questions, it's not those days in the beginning, the very subject itself got introduced in 2013. 2013 we are talking about. And later the questions were in the beginning, completely based on concepts, definitions. Now it has gone to the next level. As you have seen, asking you to evaluate, that situational merits and demerits based on the situational dilemma, ethical dilemma you witness, and also, that the options or steps that you are going to witness in one case study also. I'm going to discuss with you. So the steps or options at your disposal to deal with the situation. So the trends, it's little bit, the getting, progressive complexity is a core principle of UPSC Civil Examination by you. Might be aware. Year by year, they will break away. They will break the standards of their own standards every year. Progressive complexity, progressive. That you're in the same way the paper underwent. From mere basic definitional context of terms and concepts to situational ethical dilemma. That where you witness ultimately. That analyze, introspect, examine the merits and demerits involved in every step or action of yours at your disposal. So this is what ethics we are talking about. So it's progressing, the very trend we witness. It is that way. Ladies and gentlemen, not only that, the basic concepts to practical aspects, that and situations in the domain of concurrent and collective discourse. It is not you take decision, people never appreciate the collective discourse. That it should be, that democratic, it is that way. And also the concurrent, that the whole team, that accepts. Otherwise, you go for democratic debates and discussions. You take the point of view of others also. What is best for that particular occasion? What works for that particular occasion? It is that way. So the more practical aspects you take into account. It is not something, the decision you take is impracticable or ideal like that. So people should understand, should take part, and you go with the, the concurrent, of course, the situation, and also democratic, you take everybody on board. So that is what we are talking about, that from mere definition to the questions are centered around this way. And also, that it is very close and difficult space, whatever may be the role you occupy, and given all those restrictions, in what way you can do, you create a natural window you're talking about. So in given all those constraints, how best you can arrive at ethical solution, we are talking about where natural window of opportunity, that you get or you create, and that can make a real difference into the lives of the people. But duty is not to join the service and simply sitting on the chair and doing nothing. Inaction is the action. Huh? And ultimately getting monthly salary and writing ABCD after your name, and maybe entering into contract with big dowry. I hear guys demanding dowry. They should be hanged, I say. That demanding more dowry, as IAS, IPS officers I'm talking about, that they are selling themselves, that they are in the market. And also forget about them. There are people also standing in queue to buy that, the prospective ABCD with huge dowry. People without backbone I'm talking about, that you be real. You make, that during COVID situation, two IAS officers conducted marriage in a sub-register office. Are you aware? People are that much simplistic also. So that money can be, that otherwise the extravagant money can be utilized for feeding, poor people, or to enlighten the lives of, downtrodden community, whatever it may be. You be part of the solution. You can make difference the lives of people we are talking about. The moment you start thinking that way, all your actions will be rational. All your actions will be rational. Talking about. So that touch, that flavor should be there. You have to then and there touch the fragrance. You get the fragrance of that particular flavor I'm talking about. That so natural window of opportunity that can make real difference in the lives of people. Your service should make difference in the lives of people. That should touch the lives of people. That way I'm talking about. In what way? Once you practice this way, that nothing stops you. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, ethics, I'm keep on talking about, let me abbreviate, that this, that ethics, what is ethics after all, that you talk about, ladies and gentlemen, it talks about emotionally caution. It is not yielding to the emotion. You are not supposed to react in a particular situation. That demands your appropriate response. It's not reaction. It's not your inaction. It's not your passiveness. It's your conscious, that awareness and also response we are talking about. The action with consciousness, conscious action we are talking about, that's what called response, more than reaction. So that demands, that you apply emotional intelligence there. That demands you are moving away from mere knowledge to, the handling, there you become leader. How to handle your emotions and how to handle the emotions of others so that it works in favor of you, not against you. So that works towards, that both emotional and intellectual growth, that on the whole benefits the whole humanity. You have to think that way. So E is all about emotionally quotient and technically practical, because, you should understand it's not simply living with ideal conditions of the past, because 21st century demands, that a variety of tools, a new tool otherwise, a creative tool to provide solution. It's not living with, that 18th century or 19th century tools to provide solution for the 21st century. Be practical, be relevant, the concurrent, understand the ground reality. So what are all the tools, possible you employ? And also you talk about, that humanly accessible, that demands, that every budget without human face, you call, even opposition parties will be calling. When they become ruling party, hitherto ruling party will be using the same phrase. The budget lacks human face. The humanly accessible. All human beings, that should access, that so that, they can also participate and practice. It is not keeping them, secluded or rejecting them. Humanly accessible. It's not, that emotional high ground with which you speak in such a way. So intelligently applicable. That can be. It's not impractical. You can apply. You can reap out of it. You can see, make difference in the lives of so many people. Intelligently, that is applicable. We are talking about intelligently, where you incorporate without compromising legality. The necessary facts you take into account, legal tangles you take into account. So that's intelligently applicable, so that, that the people are not getting affected by that. Your decision becomes, well balanced, maximum happiness for maximum people. It's not compromising legality. And also caringly competent, you are talking about, that. So you care out of your compassion. You are passionate towards people. That takes you long. Yes, when you are constrained by law, the compassion towards people, that takes you to the next level. You recognize the unique problems on the part of the people. Maybe you practice equity, so you start caring. You practice fairness, justice. There that expects you to care. For that, you need not be brilliant or rich, with great official position. Just care. Just care. You need not be, that rich person to help poor people. There are so many ways you can connect, care, and also that you talk about connect, care, right people. It is not encouraging parasitic people. There comes different stones. Huh? It is that way, that, and also sensitively aware. Ethical sensitivity we are talking about. As I told you, the case study, one widow lady, old lady, without documents, trying to commit suicide, jumping in the convoy of, district collector, how the situation, that ultimately resolved. I spoke about that case. You become sensitive, that ultimately it is a tip of an iceberg. It's opportunity thrown in front of you, that you become part of the solution. It is that way. It's not citing the legal complexity. So you become sensitively aware. You understand the ground reality. What is needed? In what way you can fix that solution, fix that issue, provide the solution. It is that way I want to think. So ethics is all about. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So it is that way. I think that you understood. That, and the very ethics. What we spoke. You would have got the flavor. That's the just beginning. Various question and answers, the syllabus topics, the case studies, the thinkers. What I'm going to discuss in future sessions. I'm pretty sure that you'll be moving to the next level, I believe. Hope that you would have understood something out of it, but it is right time. What is the syllabus? The syllabus is this. Paper 4 of your ethics, that for 250 marks, this is what the title, ethics, integrity and aptitude. That aptitude, I'm talking about the original words of UPSC. What is that? The candidate's attitude and approach to issues relating to integrity, probity in public life, and his or her problem solving approach. We're talking, you be part of the solution when you are facing, that issues in the domain ethical dilemma to various issues and conflicts, faced by him, ethical dilemma or conflict of interest, that by him or her while dealing with society. You understand, no? What is the point? The candidate's attitude and approach to issues relating to integrity. This is what the original words of UPSC recommendation I'm talking about. The syllabus first word. It's not, reading entire the syllabus. That's why I took into account, only heads, the topics of the syllabus, that so that you see elaborated syllabus. You download upsc.gov.in, you will get the complete syllabus under these topics I'm talking about. So that particular framework, you be part of the solution when you are facing, that conflict of interest or ethical dilemma, especially, that in the society, and in what way you can provide, that ethical solution, right? Whether it is part of ethical ethics in personal, ethics in social, ethics in public administration, ethics in international relations, ethics in environmental standards. We are talking about that is what you see the elaboration, and also the case study approach. Also, that as examples can be cited. Even in the case study approach, when you are providing solution, you again rope in, that all those theories, the thinkers, reformers, philosophers, and that necessary scientific facts or legal facts to substantiate your answer. That it is that way. That it is that way you're going to deliver your answer. Well. So the topic ethics and human interface, the attitude. These are all different topics under which the elaboration. You just have an idea. So here the syllabus, the aptitude, the foundational values of civil service and emotional intelligence and contributions of various moral thinkers. I'm going to take you or religious, the various thinkers. So the public or civil service values and ethics in public administration, probity in governance, and various case studies. This is what your syllabus and elaborated syllabus you please download, from upsc.gov.in, that we are running short of time. And otherwise, that what are the things, that we are discussing, how the questions, the context, that I'm talking about, how you get in UPSC Civil Service Examination mains as question. I took, that some samples in 2019 questions especially. Please take into account, that the emotional intelligence. I'm going to elaborate this answer also in future part of concepts. Emotional intelligence is the ability to make your emotions work for you instead of against you. That should work for you, not against you. So you should know how to handle your emotions and the emotions of others that works in your favor. That benefits, for your emotional and intellectual growth. That benefits ultimately the humanity, the society. And do you agree with this view discussed? The questions are appearing like this. You should know what is emotional intelligence. It is also intelligence. It's not mere intelligent question, IQ. You should. What is your EQ? That we demand, and we are going to elaborate that question. And what do each of the following quotations, quotes mean to you? Hello. There are various thinkers, quotes. Even in my social media network, everyday good morning message, I put one quote. Lot of quotes I put that becomes questions here. They come as questions. Maybe it's coincidence you're talking about. Maybe great people think alike. You also think alike. It's that way, that benefiting you. So, what do each of the following quotations, mean to you? An unexamined life is unworthy of living. An unexamined life is not worthy of living. This is according to Socrates, the great Greek philosopher. You might be able. I can also elaborate, but that, of course, given to take into account, for the question solving and case study with concepts elaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, so the questions are asked this way. So the Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Epicureans, English utilitarians. You're going to look at everybody, and also that Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Kalam, that we are, even Warren Buffett quote also took into account the question, that even Tirukural, the Tamil Tirukural, that was indirectly asked as a question. You might be aware. That's why I employ sometimes Tirukural also. That way. So a man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks he becomes. What do you think you become? That's what Vivekananda says. You become as you think. Even Earl Nightingale says, a mind which is capable of thinking one thing is capable of achieving two. What do you think you become? You become as you think. If you think you are strong, you become strong. If you think you are weak, you become weak. The thinking process, the thought process. What sort of thought you develop? Maybe the thinking that maybe outcome of your mindset, outcome of your value system you believe in, faith, maybe outcome of your socialization, outcome of your brought up, outcome of your that socio-economic background hitherto you witness. Maybe it's talking about your choices also, choices given to you. Apart from that, choices you absorbed, took in. It is internalization, not only institutionalization. So that thoughts ultimately, that the thought leads to action, behavior in the long run. All this, character becomes your personality. Then you are representative device of your culture. You're talking about that way. So thought is the beginning. So a man is but the product of his thought. There is also another thing. A man is nothing but a byproduct of his decision. You are the product of your decision. You took decision. You want to become, part of the steel pillars of administration. You are sitting in front of me. You want to score more marks. You are, for especially ethics, out of 250 marks. That's why you are sitting in front of me. It's byproduct. It's outcome of your decision. Right, it is that way. So a man is this is according to Mahatma Gandhi, and we are going to elaborate, of course. Where there is righteousness, I think this quote several times I quoted in my previous video. This is according to the Dr. Abdul Kalam, linking individual with global peace. Don't say that I have nothing to do with global peace. There is a saying in the Rama Andalo, Ravana Andalo, Yenakuru Kavala ille. That is irresponsible attitude. People are not cared, that whether Ravana rules or Rama rules. We are not bothered, and we want this thing, this attitude, escapist attitude, irresponsible attitude. No, you got because you should understand you are connected with the whole. You are part of the whole. You are connected with the world peace. Even the world peace is decided by you. Are you aware? How? This is how Dr. Kalam says. That is the greatest character of Dr. Kalam. People who worked with him, interacted with him, told me many times. He will make you understand how important you are. This whole project. The role of connector. That's what Steve Jobs used to say. My role is to connect. That the product and the management. That of course the technology and aesthetic sense. That's what he used to say. The role of connector. Even that Madam Kiran Bedi ji, that she is there. Lieutenant Garner in Puducherry, I met her once. That she is also doing fantastic job there. It's not talking about constraints on the part of that the Puducherry administration. She will try to that link under corporate social responsibility all those industrialists. They will sponsor, and ultimately she will employ all those government officials for a particular task that can be solution for the people. This connector role. Dr. Kalam did that way. He connects an individual has got his or her own responsibility to the global peace. How? This is how. Where there is righteousness in the heart, when there is dharma, What is right? Dharma in the heart. There is beauty in the character, the unblemished character. Of course, there may be deviations, but you can't go. That you will come back. You will regain your position. That's what will happen. Because that well trained culturally conditioned mind. Of course, it will get deviate, but it will recover, get back to its previous position. That elasticity will be there because that the heart, because righteousness, not exploitation, righteousness. Where there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. When there is beauty in the character, there is harmony in the home. When character goes, everything goes. But when there is good character, ultimately, you ensure harmony in such a way, that you connect people in such a way. You make them understand their importance. So that there comes, peace in the home. When there is peace in the home, that ultimately there will be order in the nation, because like family, like society. Like family, like nation. Family is the basic unit of society. Of course, Indian society, a community you call. When there is peace in the family, there will be peace in the nation. You're talking about, that when there is harmony in the home, there will be harmony in the nation, or order in the nation. You don't say harmony here. That order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, after all, the globe, the world as one family, Vasudeva Kudumbakam, there comes peace. There is a saying in Tamil, Kurambiya Kuttayil Muham Theriyadu. When water is perplexed in the pond, that ultimately you can't see the clear image of yourself. The confusion. You talk about that way, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. When there is order in the nation, there is peace in the world. We are talking about, this is according to APJ Abdul Kalam. We are talking about that 2019. The very question. It's quote how linking. That when there is dharma in your heart, how it is leading to the peace in the world, not pieces in the world, as linking terrorists with global peace. Huh? It is peace. Peace is a prerequisite for prosperity or economic development. When it is that way. See how, what do you understand? The question is about that. What do each of the following quotations mean to you? Your opinion, your stand, your ethical solution. You got your own freedom, because writing is freedom. You exercise your freedom. That's though Socrates said, though Mahatma Gandhi said, though APJ Abdul Kalam, that said, but you got your own freedom. What do you mean? What do you feel? The ethical solution. You connect with the examples. See the questions, that this is how you are asked questions, that it's almost like, that in the school days you would have witnessed non-detailed session. Mostly you skipped, na? Even schools don't allow that, they will use that for some other session. And that's what value-based education, our enters are always perfect. What to do, that the people who came later misused. Over the days it was eliminated also in some schools, you might be aware. The role of value system is very, very important, that keeps you going for long, right? So the purpose, that may be forcing you to start, but the value system, that is what, that it's your ability that takes you to the greater heights, but it's your character. Of course, the value system, the standards, principles you practice in, emotional intelligence even. Of course, it's your character, that keeps you forever. The ability takes you to the greater heights, but it's your, that attitude, it's your character that keeps you there forever. That is why you see, that the people lack of this, whether it is, that our union, Harvard finance ministers, or, the corrupt ministers, that bureaucrats, all their images are shattering in front of your eyes. Within the short span of time, you're going to witness a lot more. Because it's your ability to steal, people's money, projects you as if you are a great leader, but it's your character, that will never keep you there. One day, fine morning, you'll be thrown, you'll be dismantled from there. It's not my accusation. That's true. The consequences, karma theory. I repeat once again, it's your ability that takes you to the greater heights, but it's your character that keeps you there first. Character, attitude, the standards, the principles, value system. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, this particular subject matter is all about that, we are talking about. Yes, let me take you to the next level. Yeah, sir, you are saying what is right and wrong. What is the, that a source based on which, what are all the parameters based on which I can decide whether it is right or wrong? When I face situational dilemmas or contradictions or conflicts of interest or even ethical dilemma, to arrive at what is right, what are all the sources or standards can you suggest me? Of course, you have, that 5 sources of ethical standards, to begin with, I'm introducing, that I have to take you to the types of ethics, form, content, that's later. I don't want to complicate the very first session. It's very simple thing actually. You come to know, you understand the spirit. That's very important. The rest of nomenclatures, blah, blah. That's nothing. Don't worry about it. That's very simple. What is needed for the examination, what you have to understand letter and spirit, that I'm focusing on that. Hope, if you understand, that if you've got any discrepancy, please type your question and reach me through Telegram channel also. As I told you, ladies and gentlemen, so the 5 sources on the part of, that ethical standards we are talking about, CFRUV. CFRUV. What is CFRUV? If you ask me, of course, that where I'm going to elaborate the sources, that the very U meant for utilitarian approach, the V meant for virtuous approach, R meant for rights, F meant for fairness approach, C meant for common good approach. I'm just giving you code, keep in your mind, don't worry about it, it's not by hearting, just giving you. So ethics, that is not simply based on your feelings, not, something, based on your religion, not something based on your law, and not something based on your accepted social practice or culture or science, which is more than everything. That there was a question also based on this. Previous year question I'm talking about. So ethics, beyond your feelings, beyond your religion, beyond your law, beyond your accepted social practice, beyond your science, I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way. So utilitarian approach we are talking about, the first approach, maybe out of 5 sources of ethical standards, let me take into account, utilitarian approach, where I'm talking about, that deals with consequences. What is the outcome? So because end justifies means, well. Keep the end in mind when you begin. Keep the end in mind. You know what will happen, the outcome. Otherwise, you go for SWOT analysis, we say. And before doing analysis, don't do that. Because some emotional things, may not long last. That demands your emotional intelligence. Of course, that when you got conflict between heart and brain, listen to heart. But use your, that to some extent brain also. There comes another saying. Of course, emotional intelligence. Because you should know what is the consequence. What is the outcome? Keep the end in mind, because the end justifies the means. That way, where we also talk about form and content approach of ethics, we'll come to know later. So the greatest balance of good over harm. Thing which is going to harm you, thing which is good for everyone. Maybe utilitarian approach, maximum happiness for maximum people. Greatest good for greatest people. That great people, the maximum happiness for maximum people. Happiness. Out of 10 people, 8 to 9 people are okay. Come on, go ahead. What about left out guy? Have a separate tool. Devise another tool so that that guy also will not feel left out. Yes. The inclusive governance we are talking about. So utilitarian approach is all about, that knowing, what should be it's dealing with the consequences. Keep the end in mind. Otherwise, how a balance between good and harm. Choose, good. What is good? That to maximum happiness for maximum people. This is what? One of the sources we are talking about. I want you to decide what is right based on this utilitarian approach. Of course, it's not only that, other approaches. Let me take you the rights approach. What is the rights? I've got my own right, moral right. As a human being, I've got my own fundamental right. I've got my own, without affecting the modesty of the women, the dignity. It is not taking for granted everybody. Respecting the right or modesty or dignity of every human being, and then ultimately, that you understand the freedom involved on the part of every human being. And there comes another role, the individual concerned should also feel that, you got responsibilities also, duties also. That's different scenario. So protecting and respecting the moral right, you got your own right, the dignity, that for a decent, that treatment. It is not outright, that manhandling you, rejecting you. Every human with, the fundamental freedom, human rights, the dignity we are talking about. Of course, you are trained in such a way, the culture, even constitution recognizing that article 12 to 35 you talk about. Whether you are downtrodden minority, you got your own right, the right to be heard. You got article 30 to heart and soul of the constitution, the constitutional remedies as said by Baba Saheb Ambedkar. It is not outright rejection you talk about. So the dignity, when Mahatma Gandhi was thrown out of, the vintage train, St. Peter's marriage, you might be aware what happened in South Africa. That is not even, that became history. The Natal became his political laboratory. Then ultimately, that he came to India, he gave leadership to the mass movement, India's independence struggle. You might be aware. So it is a violation of right. The black people were, that the racial segregation, apartheid regime we are talking about South Africa. How, the colonizers, exploited it. The ill treatment, mistreatment happened to us. That it is that way. The violation of all drawn fundamental rights we are talking about. So it is, of course, the USA Bill of Rights, well. So the dignity, the human right is treated as end. It is not a mean, it is end. That should be treated like end. It's not like a tool. So that when something gone, everything is gone. And there is no fundamental recognition of the fundamental freedom or human rights on the part of every individual, then everything gone. It is that way we are talking about. Then it's not a balance, that the dealings we are talking about. At the same time, the individual's concern should understand, you are running after rights now, and you also should understand you got duties, responsibilities. They go together. They are inseparable. They're talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, and non-humans too, with rights we are talking about. It's not only, that the human beings. That it's not only protecting the humans, even non-humans. The Jiva Karunya principle is all about that. I said, Vallalar, Vadiya, Pairai, Kandabodalam, Vadile. Whenever I see a plant is dying, I feel as if I am dying. Both flora and fauna, the whole, the biodiversity we are talking about. So this is where we are going to, elaborate and detailed discussion in environmental ethics. You will come to know. Stewardship, that environmental ethics, bioethics. We are going to speak anthropogenic, that ethics. We are going to speak multiple ethics part of this. The non-humans too with rights, that even, that animals, even, that the plants we are, even living, not only living things, even non-living things, they've got their own agenda, how to preserve and protect them. We're talking about part of environmental ethics. Extending the, that application of the ethical standards or principles from mere human environment to even non-human environment. That's what environmental ethics all about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, you hear right-centered approach, that the fundamental right-centered approach we are talking about. And also, what is justice? At the end of the day, justice, when there is no justice, when there is injustice in relationship, that then relationship will not be long-lasting. That's what Martin Luther King. The justice-based relationship will be long-lasting. The injustice will not go long, will not go far. We talk about, that the justice or fairness approach we are talking about. All equals should be treated as equally. That's what Aristotle said. The man is social animal, according to Aristotle. You might be aware. SPA, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. Socrates, that disciple. Plato's Aristotle. Plato's disciple, Aristotle. SP, the Greek great philosophers. You might be aware. So all equals should be treated, equally. It is that way, that talks about equality. That now we gone to the next level. It's not talking about equality, equity also. The people left out from this, that equal treatment, they should be taken care of by reservation, by understanding their unique problems, protective discrimination, positive discrimination. Ethics is all about, what is best. That if you evaluate fish in terms of climbing tree, throughout the life, the fish will think it's a food. Because while judge, first of all, you should not judge anybody. Who gave you authority to judge? Don't be judgmental. The moment you become judgmental, you stop learning. Don't be judgmental. If at all the situation demands you to evaluate something for some other reasons, that demands parameters. My question next, is that parameter time tested? Is absolute? Nothing is absolutely correct and nothing is absolutely wrong in this world. The context decides. What is right in one place is wrong in another place. What is right in one particular time period, that are wrong in another time period. When that is a situation, the context decides what is right and wrong. So that comes, you have to understand the contextuality, the unique problems on the part of the people, how they were suppressed, oppressed. So if you evaluate fish in terms of climbing tree, how come you can expect fish to climb the tree? Fish may be evaluated in terms of, that its expertise in swimming, how depth it can go, how long, how distance it can travel. That's totally different scenario. So different yardsticks for different occasions. One shoe cannot fit everyone. Fit for all approach will never work. Different yardsticks for different occasions. That is what called leadership. So this is about recognizing the unique problems on the part of the context, or situation or people or entity. So where you move from mere equality to equity. That is what the practice we spoke in Kyoto Protocol. Kyoto Protocol, part of that United Nations Framework Convention on Climatic Change. Collective but differentiated responsibility we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So all equals should be treated equally. And fair treatment, the very fair treatment based on defensible standards we are talking about. Fair treatment based on defensible standards we are talking about. That, so it is that way, the defensible standards, that you take care everybody on board. It is that way. There you talk about equity. So it is justice based, fairness based. What is right you're talking about? This about your fundamental right. What is justice at the end of the day? Because injustice will never work in the long run. You might be aware. We are talking about, that you may be, that is what, you may be thinking that you are fooling some people. You can fool some people for some time, some people for all the time. Not all people all the time. Some people sometime, some people all the time. All the people sometime. You can fool all the people, that sometime. Not all the people all the time. One day fine morning, that will go against you. So that there should be justice. Injustice will not go long way. We are talking about, that. So there we speak about all those, values, the principles of honesty, fairness, responsibility, choice, honor, value, everything we are talking about. All these things which you never practice in life. Is it so? There's are always talking about something that can be never put into practice. Okay? Is it so, sir? Hello. For you, it may be. That decides your height. Over. That decides your reach. That decides your reach, because that it's your character that takes you to the greater heights. It's your ability that gives you position, but character takes you to the greater heights, and also ensuring that your long presence there. You understand that way, you will come to know that change your mindset in such a way. Of course, if that is the case, of course, common good approach we are talking about. What is common good? That good for that everybody. Common, that something which is going to fetch good for the people. The beginning utilitarian approach, we said maximum happiness for maximum people, but something which works, for the welfare of the people, not for your personal expediency. From that self welfare to the individual welfare to collective. From selfishness to altruism, we are talking about. It is that way, from selfism to altruism. Otherwise, so the notion of community living, gregarious living, what is good for the community, you have to abide by. And you may have some difference of opinion, but what is good for the community, you please strictly adhere to. No question about it, because that involves everybody's happiness. So the primacy, it should be given to the collective living. So where you ultimately take back seats. But of course, you got, that if you're living in a community, you have to take decision. So the notion of community living and society as a network of social relationship, you have to understand. You are not alone in this world. You are connected with everybody. Without disturbing that particular fabric of interdependence, you have to carry out your life in such a way. Your growth, it's not a constant sum concept of theory or zero sum concept of theory. Your growth doesn't mean that, the destruction of somebody else. You have to plan in such a way. So you have to ensure welfare of everyone. That only when your neighborhood is happy, you can live happily. That is why, that our focus on neighborhood first policy in international foreign policy, of course, which is not free from the challenges, you might be aware. And also, that respect, you have to respect everybody for that. That you have to respect the inherent potential on the part of everybody, and you should have compassion. Let's agree to disagree. They need not have the same opinion what you have. People are with the different colors, different, the flavors, different, that ideologies. Different, that identities, that it is very natural to have differences. Let's agree, let's appreciate the differences. The difference should become complementary to the primary like this. That's what we are talking about. So that facilitates, that the gregarious living together. So you have to, be compassionate towards people. You should not hate the people, that, you ultimately, that you disapprove somebody else's action. It's not hating the person to the core. It's not going against the humanity. How come you can, if for the sake of, that loving oneself, one person, if you try to kill another person, it is no more love on the part of this person. It's no way it is justified. So having, that equal affection or compassion, passion towards everyone is a difficult task in your life. Very difficult to develop in you as a teacher, as mother. Mother is clear-cut example. Sometimes mother moves to the next level. Mother will have more passion towards vulnerable guys. When there is poor, weak guys, mother will develop more passion than, that well-settled guys. That is extraordinary. That's also ethically justified. Ethical sensitivity. Because she practices equity principle, not equality. What is right in that particular occasion she is doing. So it is very difficult to have equal affection towards everyone. That, but when you practice, nobody can shake you. That comes by maturity. The greatest leaders, you just see people like Mahatma Gandhi could go beyond their that religious identity. You embrace everybody. How far you go is totally depending on that what sort of character you have, how broad you are in terms of mindset. That's why that you do. That's what I used to mention. You do not belong to anybody. You do not belong to any place at all. Non katra nobody can contain you. You are for everybody rather. Your responsibility towards everyone, the whole humanity. It's not only humanity, non-human environment also. It's not only living things, even non-living things also. That the whole ethics is all about, it's breaking all those boundaries, taking you to the next level, understanding the very purpose why you came. It may be completely fitting itself with the spiritual world. You are part of something greater. You came here to the planet of the earth for a bigger purpose. Understand that. Who am I? Why I came here? What's my purpose? You try to understand. The moment you start understanding, all those trivial petty things will go off. You won't waste time unnecessarily by street fight, all those things. That rather you'll develop pity. You will develop empathy and sympathy towards them to help them to come up in their life. It's not hating people. Disapprove the actions of the people. Don't hate the people to the core. You're hating the humanity. You are also part of humanity. To understand, that I definitely, the social world, the character assassination, the fake news. Why? You don't have time to do even, what is right. How come you can indulge in wrong things? Please do that way. So you respect and have compassion towards everyone. You're talking about, the various sources. Not only that, ladies and gentlemen, and also finally virtue, the highest moral grounds on the part of every individual. Virtue. The integrity is umbrella, that nobody is watching you. See, first you go to restroom, your own restroom, bathroom, toilet. After using that, that you have to flush out. Or you don't see no water, at least take bucket, that have water from the mug, ultimately pour something. Because it should be utilized by another person later. Nobody is watching. You can simply say, oh, it's not working. You can come out of the bathroom. Nobody is going to question. But the very moral ground, there is, as I used now, there comes my responsibility, that to ensure that it can also be used by another person. Even when it comes to planet of the earth, I am living here. When I hand over this planet of the earth to the future generation, it should be, they should also, live and cherish. That mindset, that attitude, because nobody is watching you. But where you practice, what is right, that is integrity. Because the high moral grounds never allows you to come down. Though you are given opportunity to deviate, to violate, to indulge in all those correct measures, you don't do that. Your mindset, that it's well-trained mind that never allows you to. Myself, I've thrown one government service. I know what's happening. But, I'm not asking you to do that. Because, I had a lot of other parallel alternatives. That I took priority that way. Don't do that. Because, never compromising attitude. That gave me. Even today, never compromising attitude. What happens, right? That why can't you, that it's not, that you got choices, comfort and right. Choose right, not comfort. Money you can earn anywhere, but how do you earn? It should be long lasting. How maximum you are capable of, fulfilling the needs of the people. Your legacy should live forever. Let me repeat once again. நீங்காத செல்வம் வேண்டும், மங்காத புகழ் வேண்டும், மாபெரும் சபைதனில் நீ நடந்தால் உனக்கு மாலைகள் விழ வேண்டும். It's working toward, it's a great empire building process that demands longevity, that demands value system, standards, principles, ethics, all those sources you apply here. The virtue approach is all about that. What is that? What kind of person will I become if I do this? You should know the consequences. If I do this, what I will become? How will be live? It's not mere worried about blaming. It's doing injustice to your personality. You give wrong legacy to your future generation. You become bad role model example. We are talking about what kind of person will I become if I do this? Come on, don't you question yourself before doing that? Is this action consistent with my virtue, high moral grounds or value system? First of all, that you should be happy about yourself. There should not be, that's what, there will be constant, as Immanuel Kant put it, there will be constant infighting in your heart, whether to do this, not, but you have to arrive it in such a way, which guides you. There comes, ethical standards, your morality, moral grounds to guide you. Choose this. When you face ethical dilemma, when you face situations of contradictions, conflict, even conflict of interest in governance, ultimately you are guided by the ethics, which is more than law, where you are moved by your compassion, passion towards human beings. You become ethically sensitive. Is this action consistent with my virtue? You're asking that particular question, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. So, ethical action consistent with certain, that ideal virtues. We are talking about, that action should be consistent with, ideal virtues. Whatever action you do, you should be consistent with that. For, then only it supports the complete development of, personality of human beings. If at all you say your complete personality, that because you are based on principle standards, nobody can shake you. Nobody could shake Mahatma Gandhi except the God says bullets killed him. Nobody could shake. Even British Empire was afraid of him. They were very keen. That's what people, British people said after Mahatma Gandhi's assassination. Hitherto we protected Gandhi. Once we give freedom, you will kill Gandhi. That's true also. He was fighting against the British people. He was treated. He will go and sit for indefinite fast. Afraid of his health, because they know the consequences. Once Gandhi dies in the indefinite fast, how the whole Indians will be reacting. They were afraid of facing that. They protected Gandhi, but we lost Gandhi. And there are so much of controversies around the death of Mahatma Gandhi also. That's different scenario we're talking about. Well, the complete, nobody could shape. Why? The very principles he stood for, satyagraha, ahimsa, that demands courage, sacrifice. That is why the greatest stature, he lives after his, the death. The legacy we derived. India, land of Gandhi, land of Buddha. That's why we are respected at the global level. You might be aware. So enable us, that to act according to the highest potential, that our character we are talking about. This virtue approach, once we are strict practitioner of this particular, that integrity we are talking about, that you ultimately, you never deviate. That enables you to, that go with the highest potential of our character. The act always, all our actions, that the modalities are derived from that. You do this, you are guided. The route is clear always. No confusion. You're very clear because you know what is the end. You know what is the methodology. You are trained in such a way. Your mind never allows you to indulge in all those petty things, so that you enter into troubles, right? You always look up skies. Of course, you ensure that practical legs are grounded in such a way. You are completely free from the clutches of all these petty things, which your own counterparts, facing there because of their lack of clarity we are talking about. So based on the social values, ladies and gentlemen, that the social values, of course, truth. We're talking about truth. That's the fundamental truth we are talking about. Once you strict practitioner of truth, honesty, of course, very well, the very clear-cut example, the Gandhiji, the very mother took her, that son in front of Gandhiji. Come on, everybody listening, your great Gandhi, no. You tell my son, he's taking much mithai, sweet. Tell him not to take sweets. Jada sweets, nahi hai. Jada sweets, mat karo. So it is that way we are talking about. What happened, right? Gandhiji said, come after 2 weeks. Of course, 14 days. The lady went back with her kid. And she came back, after 14 days asking Gandhiji, yeah, you asked me to come after 14 days. Here is my son, you tell him not to take much sweets. That now Gandhiji said, Bacha, that my young kid, don't take much sweets. That's not good for health. So this lady got irritated. To say this one-liner, you could have said 40 days back, no? Why that waited for 40 days? Now Mahatma Gandhiji replied, my greatest lady, now I am qualified to guide your son, advise your son, because I was taking much sweet. It took 14 days for me to stop taking that too much sweet. Now I proved, I won, I could control. Now I'm qualified enough to advise your son. Such is the leadership. Such bole, jhoot nahi bole. Jhoot nahi bole, such bolo. We talk about it is that we know the truth. When the long, that run practice of truth, of course, you call honesty. That gives you courage. That people The people practicing truth and honesty, you can never destroy them. They will blast wherever they go. People are afraid of facing them. That's the problem. Because that they are not constrained, because they are very clear. And whatever you ask, nothing will. Maybe you can stop temporarily, but long run they will win, because truth alone triumphs. Mundaka Upanishad, Satyameva Jayate. Well. You talk about the compassion. You love everybody. Don't like. Love leads to that acceptance. You like everybody, like in the sense, if you love a rose, you will water it. If you like a rose, you will exploit it. You will plug it. So love everybody, don't like everybody. Love everybody. Love leads to acceptance. Love, you accept as they are. But if you like, you expect them something out of it. That leads to exploitation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about, so love everybody, the compassion. Be compassionate. That's the greatest trait. The moment you love everybody, that leads to, it's not tolerating. Why do you tolerate? Why do you accommodate? You accept as they are. No problem. That way, you be clear, categorically make them understand what is right, what is wrong. It is that way. So compassion and generosity, give more than what you get. Pay back more. There is a saying, that when Shivaji Ganesan, you might be aware, that the greatest actor from Tamil Nadu, people from, that other parts of India, you have to understand, you might be aware, Shivaji Ganesan, whose name also movie came, Shivaji Ganesan. But VC Ganesan, his original name, that one, the title was given to him, that Shivaji, because of his extraordinary, acting. His stature is that, some people criticize him overacting. The same path that Kamal Hassan is traveling, you might be aware. If you go and give, that 10 rupees to Shivaji Ganesan, that ask him to act for a particular event, he will act for 100 rupees. So make you dead for 90 rupees. There is a saying that way. Delivering more than what you give. That should be the attitude. The generosity. That demands abundance on your part. You should be strong. To practice generosity, you should be strong. You should have abundance. That abundance, that how it comes to you by your sustained effort, by your discipline, by your practice of integrity, honesty, everything, that matters. It's not simple terminology. It's not a simple value system. For every word you can speak, that 1 hour, 3 hours, that such is the thing you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen. It is not simple word I say. I see, the concept. I see, a greatest, theme behind it. Greatest case studies can be, that the framed based on that. Of course, that you talk about, and also tolerance. When that what can be cured should be tolerated. There is a saying, what can be cured should be tolerated. Situation demands, you can't do anything. Come on, bear it, tolerate it. No other go. So the religious, that the tolerance. Of course, that people with different faiths, that where they are right in their own position. They are not ready to change. Of course, you have to accept. It's not the love leads to acceptance. Then also tolerance. The situation demands you to. Of course, that love is the final solution. Of course, you be sensitive. That fidelity. Talking about that extraordinary sensitivity with which that you approach the issue, and also you practice integrity, honesty, truth. In the long run, integrity. Even nobody is watching. That you strictly adhere to the value system. That's integrity. And also you have your own self-control, because you respond, you don't react. You know how to they control your emotions, and also helping others to that they control their own emotions accordingly. Got the time now? That it talks about the prudence. You got fiscal prudence we are talking about. This same time that it expects you to the practice this prudence. Talk about that the very disciplined way of approaching things. A strict disciplinarian you are, so that you're free from all those deviations we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So these are all the various approaches that otherwise you can call them sources or parameters based on that you arrive at what is right, what is wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way we are talking about. Of course, right. Let me take you to that one of the key concepts, because in the syllabus you got this line: the role of family and educational institutions in inculcating values. This is the syllabus. How, what the family does to you, because it is they take care of you all around your basic needs. It's not only giving birth. Ultimately, you are initiated, molded to the culture of the society in which you have been given. And the beginning they said appa, amma. Ultimately you started imitating mommy, daddy. English medium school. It is that way. It is a just imitation, matter of imitation. The whole life is imitation. You are taught in such a way, you took in such a way, then ultimately you reproduce. Everything you learned, it's a matter of imitation in life we are talking about. So there comes, crucial role played by your role, that the family members, especially the important members, that your parents, significant others, then your own locality, that others, your community, then our society, and also, your peer group, your friends, and also the education institutions in the name of schools and colleges. It is they, that have crucial role in inculcating the value system. This process is called socialization. This process also can be called as cultural conditioning, because you know very well the culture, that at the level of society comes to an individual, that comes to an individual how, through, that the various process of, that socialization, various agents of socialization. The culture is after all way of life, style of life, which is said to be the blueprint of the society. This is how you have to dress, this is how you have to speak, this is how you have to treat others. There is a saying in Tamil, Karigalan Virundinari ஏழு அடி நடந்து உபசரித்து வழி அனுப்பினான். When there are, that your relatives, the guests coming to your home, you invite, because the Aditi Devo Bhava, they come to your home. After, you treat them. When they are leaving the home, you walk with them for few steps and to say bye bye, till they at least, that board their car, you might be aware. At least, that if you're living in, that the apartments community, up to the lift, you go with them. So that's a hospitality we are talking about. How to treat others. Everything you come to know, your parents teach you, you take in. The parents teach you, maybe one of the agents of socialization. They institutionalize you. You take in, you absorb, you internalize. That yes, boss, let me strictly adhere to. Yes, mummy. Yes, daddy. Yes, it is that way we are talking about. So when you talk about socialization, which is a combination of that you are taught, institutionalization, you take in, internalization put together. So it is not, when you say culture, it's not, it may be value system. It's a whole. It's a complex which includes everything: knowledge, art, belief, language, literature, faith, custom, tradition, everything that can be acquired. Because a human being, as a human being, you acquire everything. As I say, you acquire from your, that parents, peer group, educational institutions. You learn. As a member of the society, you acquire. Culture is the one, it's not innate. You are not born with a SIM card. When you are born, you are yet another, that animal. That's what Aristotle said. Man is a social animal. You are animal. You became social animal. How? Because the SIM card put in. The SIM card, what I say, the culture. How the culture you got at the level of the society, which is blueprint of the society, because you are taught in such a way. You have been socialized. You are brought up like mother, like daughter. Birds of the same feather flock together. They're talking this way. Ladies and gentlemen, what is this? That various, that the agents of socialization institutionalizing you. You take in. That's what it is said. It's a cradle to grave process, lifelong process. You learn. Sometimes you relearn. Sometimes you unlearn. First, that you learn, then you share among yourself. The different, the setups, institutions in making you shape. In shaping your personality, in shaping your character, in inculcating value system in you. Value system on the part of your personality. So you are otherwise, that like this, you are initiated to a particular culture. You are molded to the particular culture. You are conditioned to a particular culture. It is that way we are talking about, so the role of all these institutions, that the agents of socialization, very crucial in shaping your personality, in shaping your character, in molding, that your personality, in inculcating the value system in you, those social values, the standards, principles, ultimately guiding you. When you are facing ethical dilemma or contradictions or situational conflicts, what is right, what is wrong? Yes, do you understand what I'm talking about? You are trained in such a way. The standards and principles, with which you molded your personality, the character, that ultimately gives you choices. Ultimately, you take decision, the ethical decision, which is said to be, because you're part of the solution, long-lasting then. That becomes long-lasting solution. You learn, you share among yourselves the very culture, then you pass down from one generation to another. That is what socialization we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way we are talking about, that the socialization, cultural conditioning, the role of family, society, and educational institutions in inculcating values. You understand what I'm talking about? That is, I just elaborated your syllabus one-liner here. In simple common parlance, it is called cultural conditioning or brought up. Let me say, that various agents involved in that. I think you got the value. Your personality, as I said, your character is the outcome of that particular socialization or brought up. There is, that song also. எந்த குழந்தையும் நல்ல குழந்தைதான் இந்த மண்ணில் பிறக்கையிலே. The Tamil song. பின்பு நல்லவராவதும் தீயவராவதும் அன்னை வளர்ப்பினிலே. When a kid is born, it's a good kid. Every kid born is a good kid. But whether it is becoming, a good personality or bad personality, or Osama bin Laden, or whoever may be, or Mahatma Gandhi, it's completely based on the socialization the kid got exposed. The brought up. Repeat, எந்த குழந்தையும் நல்ல குழந்தைதான் இந்த மண்ணில் பிறக்கையிலே, பின்பு நல்லவராவதும் தீயவராவதும் அன்னை வளர்ப்பினிலே. The mother brought up, socialization, emphasis, cultural conditioning. Keep on telling, mom will say, this is right, bad. Bacha mat karo. You are warned in that way. Ultimately, you will be waiting for mom's approval. It is that, this is how we grow. Ultimately, that we cherish the value system. It is not asking, that explanation for everything. The blind faith we have in our parents, later we understand, start connecting. Maybe once you become parent, you will start understanding the value of parents. You come to know. Till then, they are your enemies. Especially for teenage kids, all parents are enemies. You will realize later. It takes time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that way we are talking about. That's the line. Of course, that syllabus line. So many questions based on that. Just a brief idea. In previous year questions, when I take, I'll elaborate more also. You have an idea. It is that way. I think it is my right time, to take you to one particular, that question. Of course, that you've seen the previous year question, especially 2019. An unexamined life is unworthy of living. An unexamined life is not worthy of living. Actually, this question demands you. What do each of the following quotations, that mean to you? That this particular question I'm going to solve in front of you. Of course, what is that? The previous year question. If we are talking about, that the very question, the Socrates, as I told you, the Greek philosopher. I'm going to elaborate this Socrates separately, but in front of you, I'm going to answer only this question. Now, you understand? Given time frame, of course, that by 2 o'clock, I will, that I'll try to finish, that. But separately, I'll be elaborating Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. You know well, the Greek philosophers, and you will come to know. So, an unexamined human life is deprived of the meaning and purpose of, that the very existence. You have to question everything. Vivekananda question, who am I? Sri Ramana Maharishi question, who am I? It is the greatest question, the path, highly spiritual path. Who am I? Why came here? What is my purpose? You are asking, that's over. You become greatest personal. That demands sacrifice. The introspection you do in every action. Question everything. It's not, strictly adhering to, that. But of course, the traditional agrarian society, you completely were, that moved by faith and belief system. But whereas the scientific temperament that expects you to question everything. The logical connectivity, cause and effect. There should be reason, because there is also always a reason behind each and everything. You come to that particular conclusion. What is that reasoning? Even India is a secular country. It's not irreligious state, parallelly, where reason is more than religion. We give importance to reason, scientific temperament. It's not irreligious when you say secular India. At the same time, we take care of, minorities. You might be well aware of this thing. Okay, unexamined. You have to question everything. Even there is a saying, that in Tirukural, it's Tirukural, Idipara illa Yemara Mannan Keduparilanam Kedum. Whoever may be, whether it is Chief Minister of a state, Prime Minister of a country, whether it is, that Secretary General of United Nations Organization, whoever may be, nobody is free from criticism. No man is above the law. Everybody can be questioned, because that is the thing they have to understand. Even Prime Minister Pradhan Mantri once said, what is that? Pradhan Sevak hai. Pradhan Sevak hai. Pradhan Mantri nahi. Pradhan Sevak hu. That it is that way we are talking about. Well, the very statement we are talking about. So you have to that nobody is above the law. Even Supreme Court judgment, on TN session, no man is above the law. When he was not sharing his own space to other, the so-called, the chief election commissioners, you might be aware. But we appreciate his, that electoral reforms. That's totally different. Supreme Court said, no man is above the law. But we say, ethics is above the law. Eh? Ethics is beyond the law, but without compromising law. What limitations you face because of the law, we go beyond that and we fix it. It is without compromising law. You got other alternative ways we are talking about, maybe by compassionate, maybe by practicing equity, maybe by practicing ethics, morality. We are talking about that way. Ladies and gentlemen, so what it talks about, you question everything, don't accept as it is. That acceptance is different. You love, accept people as they are. But what stops you from questioning to get clarity? The cause and effect, to understand the nature. So if you don't examine what's your action, what's your thought process, probably you're heading towards that bad places. Question each and everything in your life. Unexamined life not worthy of living. Don't examine then and there. So monitor yourself, have discipline, regulate yourself, channelize your thoughts. The uncontrolled thoughts leading to that wrong actions. Right thought leads to right action. Action, the fetches that right result we are talking about. Unexamined, because thought leads to action. Thought leads to action. Thought in the long run, thought leads to action. The action in the long run, you might be aware, that becomes a behavior. The behavior in the long run becomes, that character. The character what we are talking about is otherwise, that the personality. The personality is a representation of the culture, which is blueprint of society. You know that you are ultimately the culture, that shapes what should be your thoughts through socialization. That inculcates value system in you, your belief, your faith, your standards, principles. So that particular the cut at supply level, right thoughts fetching, right action. Troubleshoot. If you don't, troubleshoot your thought, introspect your thoughts. If you don't examine your thoughts, it is very natural in a mind like that you got uncontrollable thoughts. But a well-trained mind, that well-cultured mind, well culturally conditioned mind, well socialized mind will think ethically, will always take right decision, will always translate it into right action. Maybe thought may come, but it will not get translated into action. Even thought process itself, it will be fixed. I said, the constant infighting in the heart, as said by Immanuel Kant. But something, that it's not silencing your whisper. That goes with your conscience. We're talking about it that way. So an unexamined human life, that is deprived of the meaning and purpose of existence. The ability to introspect, removes the individual absurd, so that you don't commit absurdity, all absurd actions, and invoking a commitment to moral integrity and social solidarity. That makes you more committed towards, the ethical standards, the principles or morality on the part of the life. Then ultimately you ensure social order by doing that. We're talking about this. So you have to examine yourself, examine your thought, examine your action. Unexamined life is worthy of. You have to question all your action. It's not questioning others. First, question yourself. Charity begins at home. Are you right? Whatever you say, right. But are you right? I'm asking. There, whatever you say, right. Are you right? There comes another question. First, question yourself. Charity begins at home. Later, we can, that question others. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. That's what Mahatma Gandhi ji said. The change from within, later that gets manifested in the outside world. It's not outside in, it is inside out. Inside out. We are talking about that way. So just like that a seed needs that soil, sunlight, water for its germination, the human life needs introspection and examination for its growth. I'm not talking. There is a saying, story, of course, that there were two monkeys, that one monkey, sowing the seed, ultimately, the poured water, ultimately it has grown into, the plant, then it became a big tree. Whereas another monkey also, that simultaneously, that doing the same, but it's not coming up, that the seed did not get germinated. So, that this affected, that monkey asking another monkey, what you did, that you have sown one, that the seed, it has become tree, but that's not happening in my, that the part. Come on, please advise me. Then the successful monkey immediately asked the question, what do you do every day? It started questioning, examining the situation. Yeah, I put, that the seed, I'll pour water and allow, that sunlight, everything. So next morning, I'll take that seed and I will check whether it is grown or not. How come? You should allow, you should have passion so that, it sprouts out, that needs a particular time period to germinate, that with the taking nutrients from the soil. Na? But you're not, that you break that cycle, right? This is how the another monkey replied. You understand? I'm not talking about this much of introspection. That says, that you don't have passion. You don't have passions, I say. You have to allow some time for that. It's not talking about that much of introspection. Keep in your mind that introspection, you question, for that you should have tools. You should get convinced first. You question yourself. You develop the tools to question the mechanism. After that, you start questioning. To question others, you should be qualified enough. Satan can't preach Vedas. We are talking about it is that way. So human life needs introspection and examination for its own growth. That then only there will be growth. Then only the constant modification, alteration, and fixing all those issues. You progress. You move to the next level. Then you achieve. You become role model. There are so many people waiting there on the other side to emulate your role, to emulate you. Are you real role model? By deeds, not by words, not by advertisement, by deeds. எச்சத்தார் காணப்படும். What you did will go long way. So the legacy lives, as Mahatma Gandhi or Dr. Kalam, we speak, legacy lives. We are talking about, so an understanding of the experience, you talk about an understanding of the experience, that gained in the life at any particular time. An understanding of the experience gained in life, any particular time, enriches, that what you learn out of the life, what the lesson you learned out of, nothing wrong in committing mistakes. The to err is human being. Come on, no mistakes, no growth, no life. That even 10,000 times more, that the Thomas Alva Edison committed mistakes. Finally, that demands your passion. I want, commit mistakes, nothing wrong. Mistakes is nothing but, that efforts towards success. The failure is a stepping stone to success. Taking, that efforts towards success, on the way you witness mistakes, of course, mistakes. But not a problem, that when you commit mistakes, what the lesson you learned out of the mistakes, that matters a lot. Don't lesson out of the mistakes if you're repeating the same, because that's what we say, that it takes, the 25 years to bury people who are no more sometimes. That's the point. Na? So after 50, there are guys dying, stereotypes, not doing anything new, not questioning, not examining, not introspecting. But they will reach 75, they die. They did nothing between 50 to 25, 50 to 75. It takes 25 years to bury a people who died, that at the age of 50. You understand what I'm talking? Innovation is the life. Creativity is the life. If there is no, that your next avatar 2.0, there is no growth we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, people die. While they are living, they die. Otherwise, when they commit mistakes, if you don't take lesson, you are no more. You died. That it's a dead body walking. That's what, when people went to funeral, the burial ground, that, so that the people, another person remarked, that giving, bon voyage, the bon homie, and, that the today's, the dead bodies are, sending, that the tomorrow's dead body is sending today's dead body. It is sent off by today's, that tomorrow's dead bodies by today's dead body. You get my point of view, what I'm talking? It's a send off given by tomorrow's dead bodies by today's dead body, to today's dead body. It is that way you speak. It should not be, that why you take 25 years, that to bury your body when you're died at the age of 50 itself. Why? What is death? If you're not ready, if you're not willing to learn, if you're not ready to, that practice creativity, that you want to be stereotyped, there you are died. You are no more. So understanding of the experiences gained in the life, that at any particular time, that enriches, that the one's engagement with the self. You're a very happy personality, complete personality, and also you integrate yourself with universe. You understand the purpose. The age is just number. That is why we say age is just number. This is what Socrates, wine and dine culture. Of course, that you might be aware. The Greek philosopher, that who said, unexamining life unworthy of an unexamined life is. Examine, allow yourself for introspection every day, day by day. You're born afresh, you're born new. புதிதாக பிறந்தோம். You commit mistake, you're no more. Of course, you learn, you're born afresh. Every day is a new opportunity. Every occasion is a new opportunity. Don't learn out of it, you are no more. We are died. That's the meaning, of course. So Mahatma Gandhi's examination of a self, that is experiment with truth, you might be aware. Please go through that book. My experiments with truth highlights the significance. My life is my message to the world. That is what? The transparency we are talking about. So Mahatma Gandhi's examination of that self through his autobiography, My Experiment with Truth, that highlights the significance of the reflection of life we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So how the answer, that it is a prototype answer, I'm parallelly elaborating you. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand, that it's not only that, we also talk about, it is that way, I'm sorry, yeah, we have to. So Mahatma Gandhi was not only, that able to map his weakness and vulnerabilities through the examination, but also able to, that how he spoke against that, in front of that, the women who came with a kid, that to control the habit of taking more sweets. He openly admitted. That is what, the character of greatest personality. They will be more humble. They will speak truth. They will be humble. The greatest people are simple and humble people. Only ordinary people, that you see the prominence here. The greatest people never come and advertise. Unnecessarily, they won't create problems with us. Might be aware. They're humble and simple to the core. But when you mess with them, they will prove who they are. And that also, they've got their own way of, that proving the world. You understand? This is what we are talking about. That is what the greatest people know that. So, that they only able to, make his weakness and vulnerability through the examination, but was also able to question the prejudices, that we are talking about. He fought for downtrodden people. He understood, that the untouchability is a shame on the caste system. And the people's mindset should change. The disgrace. The change in mindset of the people, way of life should be that possible. Abolition of untouchability. You are talking about Article 17. It is that he was able to question that he himself questioned the prejudices and understand his that strength as a human being. So you have to that put yourself that whenever he commits mistakes, he will impose that self-imposed indefinite fast that he will do. It is not hurting. What happens now? Others won't eat because of that. The moment he goes for indefinite fast, others also won't eat. That is also another criticism against Gandhi. Gandhi, that you go for indefinite fast, but what about the people, the diabetic people will be there? They all died because of the thing, that what you did. How come they can take food as your strict follower? You have to understand, others also. There comes another criticism against Gandhi. Forget that. But, he will punish himself. It's not punishing others. It's not running after self-gratification, self-punishment, self-imposed punishment. We are talking about it that way, ladies and gentlemen. So able to question. Mahatma Gandhi was able to question himself. That I'm talking this way, you can answer. Your understanding of that particular quotes, and you can also cite other examples. Maybe your mom, that's what, that what happens, right? See the attitude, the self-sacrifice on the part of, the mom. That her priority, all kids should eat first. Sometimes she will lie thinking that, I took food. Even Dr. Kalam talks about her mom. And, Kalam's, that the sister, brother used to scold him, that is the chapati for mummy. That you ate everything. So today, mummy is going to bed, that hungry. Then he realized, he wrote, lamented, that in his book, that he writes about this instinct. That's what mom. She will punish herself, not the kids. It is that way, that demands, that ultimately Kalam himself, that undertook self-introspection. After that, he will question everybody. Have you taken food? Food is available for everybody, all members. It's not what comes in your way, you eat, don't even consider about others. Even kids can practice. All family members should think that you are part of the family, where all are stakeholders. There comes the response. Your duty is to put, that food on the plate of everybody, not only your own plate. It is that way we are talking about. So question everything, question your everything. Maybe your male chauvinism, because of your breadwinner, that you are dominant, that attitude, you neglect others. That should not. Introspection, all your actions, others are appreciating, others are cherishing, others are happy. You question yourself, you question your practice. It is that way. So as Gandhi questioned his prejudices, that and all those biased behavior and made, that his character strength out of it. And you can also do that. You question all your actions, all your activities. all your thoughts, and you are mingling with others, in what way it enriches relationship, and why you are stop that why you stop that interacting with others, you come to know everything we are talking about. So this very ability to reflect that on the life adds more depth to the character. We are talking about that even that Mahabharata taken into example, that so that even Arjuna, how he am I going to kill that my brothers there, the name of that the war, he questioned himself. Ultimately that it's the duty of Krishna. It's not you are doing, I am doing through you, all the blame that is on me, that sambhavami yuge, all those stories we are talking about. So that more depth to the character of Arjun. You might be aware, Arjuna, the ability to reflect on that all that on life. We're talking about in Mahabharata a strong character put there. Of course, that whenever the wavering mind, how it was, all the questions of Arjuna, he questioned himself. Arjuna gave clarification, the very Krishna gave clarification to Arjuna. That's why the Mahabharata, then most of other characters like, that the Bhishma, the Yudhishthir, Gaurava, we are talking about. The strong character, ability to reflect on life, ability to go for introspection, self-examination, that talks about, we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So instead of following the norms and fighting with his clan, that the Arjun questions the meaningless of the war and the purpose of his life. The fast changing societies and consumer culture in the contemporary world, they never question everything. That's the problem. The herd mentality, the fashion, everything, not even understanding the other side of the consequences. Fast changing society, ephemeral society, short lived society, the consumerist culture, the conspicuous consumption. You don't know why you consume, just for showy reason, for the display we do. You are moved by public opinion. You don't know whether it is right or not. The crowd opinion, the herd mentality. So in the contemporary world, leave less time for that human beings to examine and think about the culture. That you don't have time, because you're quite busy. You don't have time to that the question yourself, all of your actions we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way. And also that the very adaptation that to changes have become automatic and questionable. You don't question that unquestionable. You don't question, you just adapt, just change for the sake of your survival. Question, then adapt. Question the change. Before adapting, question. What stops you? You should get clarity. It is that way. So that the quotation has that we talk about that unexamined life unworthy of living or not worthy of living, as said by Socrates, that has strong relevance in the present times, that where human beings are burdened with the histories of war. We're talking about that the herd mentality. You just move in the name of that economic expansion, the colonization. Of course, that the imperialistic tendency. Of course, that the religious, that the faith, the terrorism we are talking about, and all those things. That where the erosion of morality, Osama bin Laden, even IS sectarian violence we are talking about. The Gulf War happened, and the World War I, II, to establish supremacy. What? Don't try to that win the war. That don't try to win the hearts of everybody. Don't try to defeat everybody. You enter into war to stop the war. See the that irony we are talking about. Of course, the erosion of morality in the scientific and technological weapons of mass destructions, chemical, biological weapons. That where ultimately the spiritual uprootedness. Ultimately in the name of all these, the winning mindset, aggressiveness. You ultimately that forget the foundational principles we are talking about. Where you witness otherwise the spiritual uprootedness. It is that we are talking about. So it's that you have to question everything. We are with bad past also. We have to understand. We have to learn lesson out of it, and we have to go for introspection. We don't want one more war. Rather, that peace where all the world, living, the nations living as a stakeholders. The world as one family. Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. We are talking about. It is in these times, that one needs to dwell. That we are talking about deeper into the conscience. That you go with. That's what when there is a conflict. Brain and heart, the intuition will always guide you to the right, because as long as your inculcation of the value system is right. You're talking about the conscience, that you listen to your inner voice that never misguides you, and find the purposes, and find the purpose of the existence. Why am I? Who am I? Why I came to here? What's my duty? What's my purpose? and engage in more meaningful, that the manner within a society. The moment you start introspecting, examining, question, all of your actions will get rationalized because you know the consequences. That is what we are talking about. That's what, Socrates, that unexamined life is unworthy of living. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I think, that it is the right time, that let me, that, 1 second, 1 second, please. Yeah, because that it is right time, and we will be continuing this particular session. You can also join me by 6 o'clock with another topic. I'll be adding this, that questions also, because lot more things, to be shared with you. I'm very happy to share with you. You will learn, definitely. I'll make your, that the purpose. I will make your presence here relevant and worthwhile. That with almighty blessings. That I think, that, ladies and gentlemen, and the emotional intelligence, and also, that is the thing we have to discuss, and we have to continue, and also, that the ethical solution, for that particular emotional intelligence based question, and that and not only that, giving examples, and also should take you to one case study. I thought that is a plan, but nothing wrong. That please meet me again. Visit the same, that YouTube channel, part of Unacademy. By 6 o'clock, we are going to deal other topics where we will continue, because it is not forcing you. I'm not doing ritual or ceremony here. The purpose of, making you learn. I want you to get enabled. That is the very purpose, and more make my, the presence more relevant by making you score more marks. It is a fantastic subject, highly motivating. That you are part of this subject because you know everything. I'm just, connecting you with the subject matter, case study, and ethical solutions. I have to touch with that, ladies and gentlemen, and also sufficient, facts to be. And when it comes to, that the resources made for this particular ethics, integrity, that the subject, of course, GS4, part of your GS mains written, please, the lexicon, the basic understanding, you please go for these Chronicle publications to begin with. Of course, that you got other books, that written by Subbarao and P.N. Roy Chowdhury, that next level maybe the ethics, integrity, and aptitude. That if you've got 3 friends, that buy, one friend can buy one book, that you sit together and take notes. Otherwise, exchange in that way. It's not buying everything. And a lot of resources available in the net also. And also, that Ramesh Arora, when it comes to, ethics in public administration, please refer that particular book also. And when it comes to, the ethics, that 11th report, 10th report, 11th report, I want you to go through this. Second Administrative Reform Commissions, that the report, you understand more. And beyond that, do not worry. In all my sessions, I'll give you notes, and they take you to the previous year questions, and linking with, the purpose, and also solving a lot of case studies. That's idea. Don't worry about it. It's my duty. And apart from that, you can also parallelly consult resources to enrich your understanding, ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the right time. That I appreciate you, that for the participation, and that we will also continue that 6 o'clock again. Every day, the next 3 days, that morning 11 o'clock, evening 6 o'clock, you can meet me in the Unacademy, the platform, that to have more ideas. I hope I'll on the path of, transforming you vis-a-vis this subject matter. Please, that use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, please go for, that iconic program, especially so that you benefit more. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciating you once again for the participation. This is the right time. Let me know that this is Success Sampath signing off from you. We are going to meet once again by 6 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take it forward from there. Thank you so much. And that